See, it would help if I did that.
There he goes. There it is.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of the Ain't This the Fun podcast. In the immortal words of George Washington, who run Bartertown?
George Washington?
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that's buried in Grant's tomb, right?
Everything you hear on the internet is true.
That's right.
It reminded me because we were watching Fury Road the other day.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
So good.
First History Man.
Yeah. I still haven't seen the black and white version.
Which we played at Elk Grove when we did Mad Max Fury Road. They were just like, "Why don't we do the black and white version?" I'm like, "Why?" Again, we're keeping things positive.
Yeah.
I prefer when a movie has that much color to it, and the color is almost a character in the movie. I like my color. You know, I like you do the black and white version of The Mist, Stephen King's The Mist.
Sure.
That I can see. That has an old school monster movie flavor to it. I don't need Mad Max in black and white. I'm sorry.
Well, especially that one. I mean, all the other Mad Maxes were always, brown, grays, tans. But that one in particular, when they start shooting off the fireworks or the puffs and the smoke, and it's all multicolored and everything's flying around all at once.
Gorgeous looking movie.
Yeah, it's just.
Why would you want to strip it of that gorgeousness?
Yeah, too good. What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Podcasting. Mostly.
Yeah.
It's just it's this week alone coming up. We have this annual tradition we've been doing for quite some time now. For like this is our 7th, 8th year, however the math works out. The Directors Club podcast. Jim Laskowski, Colin Suter, and I do this whole. We do an entire. It's a 30-year anniversary retrospective of the entire movie year. When I say the entire year, I mean the entire year. Yes, we skip around certain things in the calendar and whatnot, but we do this entire show where we go through and just go through the calendar and talk about every single movie we possibly can, our thoughts on it, how they've aged. We rewatch a whole bunch of them coming up to this thing, and so I've been sort of cramming for that. Because 1992, it was a year. Like, I went through the entire list. I'm like, what do I need to see? What do I want to rewatch? And so much of it, like, I'm like, well, I've seen so many of these movies multiple times. I don't need to rewatch a lot of them. And unfortunately, it's a lot of the ones that are really good. So I went back and I was watching some stuff that I had never quite seen, at least that I remember in their entirety, and rewatching a few movies that were kind of on the spectrum. Some went higher, some went lower. But I'm really, I always look forward to doing the show. It's tasking, but it's always so much fun.
It's not a bad thing too. Like you said, most of the ones in this particular case are good.
Well,
it would be a real trudge if you had to watch like 20 horrible garbage movies.
Well, we do those too. Like,
well,
I mean,
sure.
like 2 years, we did 1990 a couple years ago, and I think I was the only one that watched both Lambada movies. So
The Forbidden Dance.
The Forbidden Dance and Lambada, which has the math contest at the end of the movie instead of a dance contest.
Of course.
Right, because why would you? I learned Lambada in junior high.
Even the Forbidden Dance? You did?
No, it was a math thing. Lambada was
I gotcha.
all math.
It wasn't Lambda? Math. Are you sure it wasn't Lambda?
No, that was college, and
okay.
I might have been a nerd, but I didn't make that fraternity. But not So like. But 1992 it's a weird year. I mean, it's not really weird, but there was a lot of good, and only a fraction of great.
But again, imagine if you got a year where, 18 out of 20 movies are trash, but there were 2 really awesome movies. You'd have to sit and. Sometimes it's fun ragging on the 18 movies that are horrible.
Oh, certainly.
But still, if you hadn't, because they're horrible, you probably hadn't rewatched them in a while. Then you'd have to go back and be like, I remember it a little bit. Okay, you have to go back and watch 18 garbage movies.
Well, that's the thing that people, I think, don't articulate as well about film history, and it's sort of like the Saturday Night Live rule in a way that people say, "Oh, Saturday Night Live sucks," and it's not as good as it used to be. I'm like, every movie year has a lot of garbage in it. And the further we get away from that garbage, we forget about the garbage and we only remember the good. So when people say like, oh, 1939 or 1941 had all these great movies, yes, the quality at the top was very high, and we remember those movies. There's probably still a lot of not so great stuff near the bottom, and I think that's every single year. And it's like it was Saturday Night Live, is like, there might be one good sketch a night, but that one good sketch might be the best sketch of the season. So,
Right.
you know,
You remember that weird, what is it, 11:55 sketch
11,
that
yeah,
they
the
throw
10,
in,
10
and
to
then
1 schedule.
some half the people have tuned out, but other people go, "Did you see that last one they did? It was nuts."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, so like 1992, like you said, there was a lot of good, it's a big 3-star year, shall we say?
Well,
A lot of stuff right there. But the stuff at the top, there's some really good stuff there. Yeah. So
I've been reorganizing, as you can see.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I have a whole table I set up here. I brought one of these days I'll talk about it. HeroClix. I brought all my organized HeroClix down, and then I have some of the new stuff. I realized I had dupes of stuff in bags, and I realized I have stuff that I hadn't even opened because it was tucked under other stuff. And
Right.
I've been collecting and using it for 20 years. Turns out I have an entire about 4 feet of a table here of stuff I got to go through, and then reorganize the stuff on the shelf over here. It's been a little bit of a pain because, again, our house is small, but the basement, the stairs are at one end, and where I had the stuff is at the other end. So I got to go from up there all the way over, down the stairs, then back down here, and then back where I'm sitting here. Again, I say a lot. It's not like I'm traveling a mile. It's a small house, but instead of like being close to the stairs, so I'm back and forth and back and forth.
And you're kind of an organizer like I am. Maybe not as extreme.
No, it's organized in the sense that I know where it all is. Each set that I get kind of goes. I buy these little $7 tackle boxes over at Cabela's because they're the cheapest and the easiest to use. But like, so each set goes in there. But like, as you can see, like I know where it all is. But
yeah,
you would have done this already.
Okay.
I did.
So you're very much a file it under H for toy.
Exactly. File it under, yes.
Okay.
Except mine doesn't get thrown out the window after that. But yeah, it'll be fun though because what I'm working towards hopefully is, especially with this pandemic, you don't get to like. I'm not gonna go to a building with a bunch of people, 20 people, 10 people, and play HeroClix with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Breathing right on each other, and wear a mask or whatever. But I've chosen to be the way I am, and so I'm not out playing as much as I ever used to. So in this case, I'd like to try to move. I have an extra camera over here. I have a board I put in the joists up here. I'd like to attach it to there in a downward motion. That way I can put the map on this table, and potentially play live on stream. And if someone that does play HeroClix plays, you can kind of like, if they get in the chat, they could be like, oh, I'll be the other person. You could do it that way. Yeah. Or I could play against myself or have someone over and sit on the other side of the table. And all I got to do is turn this camera over, and we can have the above view and side view, and then play and stuff, because you just don't get to anymore. They don't have an electronic version. But it's all superhero stuff and geeky, and I want to start playing again. So I was like, you know what I should do? I should bring it down here right next to me, so I have to deal with it and reorganize it. But I am going to get to the point, maybe like you and like more so like my father. But I bought labels for my printer that fit perfectly on the side of the little tackle boxes. And I'm going to put the logo for each set on there. And then that way I can slap them on the sides and stack them up perfectly on the shelves. And that way if I want one set, I can pull it out. It'll have the little, not quite anal retentive. It's not totally the Phil Hartman anal retentive cook situation, but it'll be nice. Nice and organized. I
forgot about that sketch until you just brought it up. I used to love that sketch.
You had to wrap the garbage.
I don't think I even realized why I loved it as much until I started organizing stuff, but it just like, it's yeah.
He couldn't throw anything away because he had to wrap the garbage in order to throw it away. But
then
that wrapping wasn't perfect enough. He had to put it in another wrapping.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I'm not quite that bad. No, I just throw the crap out.
My mom to this day will give my dad garbage. We had a smaller album collection, And I remember as a kid him getting the little circle colored stickers. Remember that you get like the red or the green, or they came in like a multicolored pack. He
Yeah.
invented his own uh, fatherly Dewey Decimal System alphabet with a number, and then he made a little book handwritten, because there was no computers at the time, handwritten of lined paper where each album was, because they weren't just alphabetical, by band and then by alphabetical or by year. I don't know how he did it, but we all made fun of him for the little circle stickers on the albums.
Well, I think I mentioned it when I think I know I brought it up. I don't know, maybe I didn't bring it to the full extent, but on one of the podcasts, shameless plug, that I do, the Friendship Dilemma with Morgan Guy, our very first episode, we talked about When Harry Met Sally, and I all the things you could possibly find attractive or pleasant about Sally, the fact that she organized her videotapes was such a selling point for me.
Yeah,
and the fact that that Harry brings it up, like, you have all your videotapes indexed on index cards, and so, like, you want to watch something? Come on, marry me.
Yeah, I just finished the last one, 5. What was it?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yes.
We did.
Just finished that either earlier today or last night. It was good.
Thank you.
Of course, it went right to. It's one of, before we start here, one of my favorite creepiest scenes from any creepy horror movie, not slasher horror movie, but any creepy horror movie. And I've told you this before.
Oh, yeah.
That reading in the 92 Body Snatchers, where she goes, "Where are you gonna run? Where are you gonna hide? Nowhere, 'cause there's nowhere left to go." And then when he takes off running, she yells out the door, I think, right? He takes out the front door, and she yells, "Ah!" And she does the scream, and everybody. Yeah. That line reading is one of my absolute favorite creepy horror movie readings ever in all of movies. I love it.
Yeah. And I remember, I think the movie, was made in 93. It didn't come out in Chicago until 94. I think like early, maybe February 94.
Okay.
Which I was going to school downtown. I was going to Columbia at the time. And I had invaded the 1978 Body Snatchers is the one we did on the show, Morgan and I. And it's always been one of my favorite movies, period. So I heard so many great things, and Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars and everything. So I was really just stoked to see this new version of Body Snatchers. And it was only playing at the Fine Arts, the old Fine Arts Theater on Michigan Avenue.
You're talking the 92 one, the Army base one.
94.
94.
Came out. Yeah, but yes, that one. It only came out of the Fine Arts Theater, which is no longer there in Chicago. It was only at the Michigan Avenue one. And after I was done with school that day, instead of going home, I went to the Fine Arts to see the matinee of that movie. And I was one of the only people in the theater for it. And that section, when Meg Tilly has that line reading, and they go out in the streets and she screams at him, and all the people come out of their houses after them, that was the moment I was like, oh, now we're in it. But no, I said that there's those three movies, the 56, 78, 94, are all really, really good movies. The 78 is my favorite. The one they did with Nicole Kidman, it's not particularly good, but I don't think it's as bad as its reputation.
That one's just called The Invasion or something.
The Invasion, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell you to seek it out. Yeah, no.
Sure. But yeah, I'll scream it to the hills. No pun intended. But yeah, that line reading. If no one's ever seen it, I'll obviously put a link in the notes. But yeah, it's one of the best creepy readings in a movie.
Like you left.
I forgot about that part. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one like you left. She says nowhere. Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna hide? There's nowhere, because there's nowhere left to go. Right? Isn't that what she says?
There's the husband's got the kids, and he doesn't know she's turned, and he's telling her, let's go, we gotta go, and she's going, go where? She goes, listen to me, this is very important. Go where? And then she's talking to him and basically doing the whole spiel. And then she goes, where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna run?
Run.
Where are you gonna hide? Nowhere, because there's no one like you left.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's the line reading.
Yeah, still creepy. Because again, you don't know if she turned, but the way she does it, and you literally feel
Well,
helpless.
she's turned at that point.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
we've
helpless.
seen it.
He's stuck there with her, and you're like, all you got, that's it. You got to run.
Yeah.
That's your only hope.
Yep.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, with every podcast, the format is 3 fun, interesting, important things that make you happy, especially in the last 24 months of this nightmare world we're living in. That you got to have something to keep you positive or happy, or that you want to tell someone about that brings you joy or happiness. This is what we're going to do. Top 3. And then at the very end, we're going to throw something out there that we're looking forward to, whether that's tomorrow or 8 months down the road. Sergio says 78 and the 94 are the best. So.
Wow, throwing the 56 one right under the bus,
I guess. He doesn't like
it.
So, yeah. So, like I always say, do you want to do the first? It's up to you.
I'll be happy to do the first one. Because I think this is the one that's going to surprise you probably the most. It's not something that I would ever have anticipated. It's not like it's weird or anything.
You joined the MMA?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
No. I have not gone with Favreau and friends on the MMA. But I obviously when I come on here, I usually talk about movies as the first 15 minutes or any indication. And I will get there tonight, I promise, for your loyal listeners. But one of the things that I have kind of, I joke around about music a lot because I don't listen to music in the same way that I used to many years ago when I used to listen to it as a kid, the whole forming of taste and all that kind of stuff right up and through, high school and college and all those formative years. There's a lot of music I just don't find interesting anymore. And yes, I am kind of an old school square when it comes to classic rock and the music that I grew up with. I don't know how many Phil Collins, Huey Lewis references we made on the show already, but that's the speed that I had in the 1980s and continues to. So I don't actively go out and discover new music. But I haven't completely written it off. I do listen to the radio and whatnot, but I don't have it usually kind of playing as like the background noise when I'm doing work anymore. Sometimes I do. Every once in a while, I might have something and like certainly throw on the Alexa in the shower and stuff like that. But it started to happen sometime around the holidays, maybe a little bit sooner. I can't pinpoint it where I kept hearing this one song on the radio, and it was weird. It was one of those weird things that it kept seeming to find me, like it was following me no matter what station I put on, what speed of station or tone of station I put on. It seemed to be on all of them.
Everything keeps reminding me of her.
Yeah, right. That's right. Naked Gun reference, everyone.
That's right.
But it was weird. I kept hearing it. I'm just like, I really like this song. And then when I heard the name of the band, I'm like, that can't be the name of the band. That's weird. I would never guess that. It was a band I had never heard of before. And anyone listening who might be a music purist or music snob, whatever the case might be, might be ready to excoriate me just because I've never heard of this band until I heard this song, and now I've heard this recent album. Because the song got me to seek them out. And apparently they've been around since 2005. Maybe it's one of those cases where they haven't been very popular and maybe they're now coming into their own. I don't know. I didn't do that. I didn't go that far down the research hole on it. But it's a band called The War on Drugs. Are you familiar with them at all? You're not? Okay, so maybe...
not as much as John Morgan.
Right.
One of the people. He's way more into music than I am. But I stay pretty up to date, and I've never heard of this.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, I went for the show, and I'm like, I'm not going to mention this because I don't talk about music that often. And they've been around since 2005. They've had like a handful of albums, I think. But this album came out late last year, I guess. And the song I kept hearing on the radio was a song called "I Don't Live Here Anymore." And you might have even heard it and not even realized it possibly, because it seems, like I said, it's following me around and must be playing out there somewhere. And so I went online and went through the various channels and started listening to their albums, and on Amazon Music, and listening, shuffling and stuff and whatnot, and about as high a compliment as I could possibly can. Again, I'm not a music scholar the way that I know movies. Okay, so even my comparison might even be off. Don't crucify me, people, for making any kind of comparison. But it reminded me a lot, because the sound of their sound has a very, not kind of that 80s one hit wonder sync sound, but like the kind of groups and bands that might have like come out of the 70s and gained even more popularity in the 80s. It reminds me a lot of Tom Petty.
Okay.
And Tom Petty, again, Phil Collins, Huey Lewis aside, I cannot think.
Well, real quick.
Yeah.
Are you talking later Petty, which sort of veered into the acoustic, traveling Wilburys, slower, like almost countryish stuff? Or are you talking like "Don't Want Come Around Here No More," like sort of electronic-y, sort of mid-80s stuff?
Maybe somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Maybe somewhere in the middle. There's definitely, I mean, you listen to their songs. There's definitely some late stage Petty, some kind of like the ballady kind of stuff that he was doing as solo work a bit. And but again, it has this particular sound that kind of just sparked in my brain, and it just reminded me of better times, I guess. And that, again, sounds like a weird thing, but it's like
that's exactly why we're doing this.
Right, and it's just like this nostalgia thing that sort of triggered my brain juices or whatever, and listening to their music. I'm just like, the way when you talked about Michael McDonald the last time we did this, and I think I texted you. I'm like, I put on Sweet Freedom for the hell of it. Not long after we did that, I'm just like, I just feel good right now. I feel invincible. It's the first time that word's ever been associated with Sweet Freedom.
I can see things no one else can see.
That's right.
I'm feeling really good right now.
That's right. But again, it sounds like the War on Drugs is the name of the band.
Okay.
And like I said, I've listened to the new album, and it's got such a great sound to it. The I Don't Live Here Anymore song I've listened to countless times. I really love that song, and yeah, I just want to put that out there. I'm not a music expert. I am not here to say that they're better than anyone else. It doesn't matter, because I like them, and that's and put it out there. I hope other people like it. If you don't need to call me an idiot for it, okay? But I'm here to say that I liked the War on Drugs.
You'll have to tell me the title of the particular song. What's the song that you
heard? The song I Don't Live Here Anymore. It's the name of the album, and the main song that I kept hearing, the one that brought me to this band.
Yeah, I'll have to listen to it. I wonder if maybe they played it in something recently, and that's why you're hearing it. Because for a 10-year-old, 8-year-old album to be played currently somewhere.
No, the album's new.
Oh,
this particular album is new. The band has been around since like 2005.
Okay,
I guess. So again, I don't know a whole lot about their history. I don't know if they're they had, I don't know if they had any hits or anything like that. But I'm a fan now. So this is the first time in a while that I can say that I found a new band. And the thing is, like, years ago, our friend Colin Suter, who's big into music, and he's a big U2 guy.
Yeah.
And he would, every once in a while, he'd find a new band. He would make me a CD of it. And I remember he made me a whole bunch of CDs of Arcade Fire.
So good.
Back when they were really sort of blown up. And I remember, funny enough, I remember going to his house for a Christmas party one night, and I was playing the Arcade Fire CD in my car. And there's a song came on, I think it's called The Sprawl or The Sprawl 2, something like that. And I heard it, I'm listening to it, I'm like, this sounds like it was just ripped out of the 1980s. It's like a perfect 1980s song. It's the same way I sort of feel about the Weeknd's big song, the lights, fading lights. Yes. What is it called? That song. I don't. Yeah. I know it, and I'm forgetting it right now because I'm an idiot. But that song
is called. It might just be called Lights.
I think it's something. I thought it was like Fading Lights or something. I'm gonna sing it in my head when you start talking.
Right.
But I love that song too, and particularly because it just reminds me of a particular time, and this one does too. And it just, if they, again, I cannot think of a Tom Petty song that I don't like. You know,
I mean, I get what you're saying. If you were to just
right?
play all of the either Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers or even Traveling Wilburys and play every single song he's on, I'm sure I know what you mean. I'm sure you would find 3 to 5. You're probably gonna, I could care
I
less
might
about this.
not. Yeah, I mean, I
But there's
wouldn't.
so many good Tom Petty
Right,
songs.
right.
Yes, of
I
course,
mean, there's always going to be preferences
of course.
and things, but but I've never listened. Honestly, I can't say that I've ever listened to a Tom Petty song and go, yeah, I don't need to hear that one again. I'm just like, it might not be my favorite, but I would listen to that again.
Hmm.
That's how I feel about Tom Petty. Always have.
Might be my ADHD. If a song doesn't grab me,
Mm-hmm.
I I don't necessarily have to listen to it again. Again, like you said, it's not that I
Right.
think it's the worst song ever.
Yeah.
I would never put that whole album on. There's very few times I would listen to, there's again, I'm going to talk about this again in the future at some point, but like a Tori Amos, I could just put a
Mm-hmm.
CD on the background, listen to that forever and be totally happy.
Right.
Foo Fighters, just about every single song on every single album I'll listen to forever. But
I've seen the Foo
there's
Fighters movie, by the way.
the
Studio 666.
no, yeah, I have not,
I have.
obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well, we're doing positive stuff, right?
okay, well then don't.
Mm-hmm.
I probably not going to see it, but just about anything else. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Tom Petty is great, and if this has that vibe to it, I'm going to check it out anyway, obviously. But
I will say this much about the Foo Fighters thing that is a positive thing that is kind of cool. Even if I won't say anything more with the
Mrs.
movie,
Fun
but
says the name of the song is "Blinding Lights."
Blinding Lights. See, idiot. Blinding Lights. Okay.
I didn't remember either.
I knew that, and I just forgot because I'm on the war on drugs right now. So but in the Foo Fighters thing, I'm watching the opening credits and I'm going, these credits are clearly very inspired by John Carpenter. Okay, so I'm like, the first thing I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, they're clearly, which is not the first horror movie. I've seen other festival movies where they're clearly using the Carpenter font, and that is their tribute to Carpenter. Okay, so I'm watching the Foo Fighters thing and the opening credits, and they have the white font at the opening. I'm like, okay, they're clearly throwing a little bone to Carpenter. And then the title card comes up, original theme by John Carpenter.
Oh, that is great.
Carpenter did the theme I think with his son and with probably another collaborator. There were three names on the credit, and he also appears in the movie briefly as I'm guessing like the sound engineer who was when they're trying to do this
great.
album. He's there and the high fiving him and stuff and whatnot. And then I'm like, how did this happen? This is kind of funny. And I found I guess Carpenter just did an interview recently where he said that the Foo Fighters asked him to be in the movie. Okay. And I guess at some point his son toured with them, and maybe I don't know if he opened for them or something like that, because Carpenter and his son have been touring with their music and stuff like that. So, but Carpenter said to him, was like, you guys treated my son so great on the tour. So, like, not only will I appear in your movie, but I'm going to write the theme for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, John Carpenter, the king.
And how many horror themes has he come up with at this point? And anytime you hear like Big Trouble in Little China or whatever, those movies, you hear that super heavy keyboard heavy theme song, and you immediately think of John Carpenter.
Yeah, well, it's about the only good thing about the new Halloween movies is his music. So
do they reuse it?
But he wrote whole new stuff.
What?
He wrote a whole new thing. I don't remember if he did. I don't think he does the entire score, but the opening credits they do. He does. It's a variation on the old theme, but it's a completely new variation of it.
Well, to speak about what you're talking about, the war on drugs, although I haven't heard it yet, and you said it sort of makes you feel like Tom Petty or the '80s. There's a whole new thing now where the kids, but younger people, because of Spotify, you can just hit a button and it just gives you music that's similar. But there's tons of people, including the song that I use for free, is written by a guy by the name of his last name's Heller.
Mhm.
There's tons of people that just make music for free, and it's usually doesn't have any lyrics and stuff. It's ambience music kind of thing, but it's there's a lot of synthwave. What's the name of the band that did Blade Runner? It's not Tangerine Dream.
Dream.
It is Tangerine Dream. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Vangelis did Blade Runner.
Vangelis.
Tangerine Dream is Firestarter. And
It's a lot of that kind of synthy, very electronic, acoustic, not acoustic, no words, music, and there's tons of it all over YouTube. People just write new synth music. It's a whole thing called synthwave, and it's like coming back. It's super popular. There's a very popular streamer named Dr. Disrespect that literally has people make him more synthwave music because it's become super popular again. It's so weird. Everything comes back around.
Yeah.
But well, I'll have to look up Tangerine Dream. Not yet. Oh, there you go. Yeah, my first one this week is a game that's not new. There's a game called Cyberpunk 2077. It's nice synthwave music, synthwave to Cyberpunk connection here, but it's this company called CD Projekt Red that made Witcher, which is now a TV show on Netflix, which is based on a series of books. The reason probably the show even got popular was because this company had made 3 Witcher games. The Witcher 3 that came out a few years ago, the Game of the Year edition with all the DLC and stuff, was highly lauded. Like, won a ton of awards. It was just about everybody's Game of the Year that year. It's this big, grandiose, you know, if you know the TV show, you know who the Witcher character is. But imagine playing that character. Third person, so it won't make you sick. You know, the little guy's like on the screen and you're moving him around. And you're fighting dragons and people and vampire things and all this kind of stuff. And everybody loved him. And they very rarely did these little microtransactions where you got to pay $2 for armor for your horse and all that garbage that games do now. But they had gotten all this great publicity over a bunch of years. And then they said, we've gotten the rights to the tabletop role-playing game Cyberpunk. There's tons of novels. There's a card game called Netrunner. I believe it's called Netrunner that has mechanics and is based off the characters from these Cyberpunk books that are used to play. It's like Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing. But it's set in a like Blade Runner universe kind of thing, right? So it's not dragons. It's a guy that you can, jack into his head and take him over and stuff. So about a year and a half ago, they put the game out. Everyone was looking so forward. I was super looking forward to it. And it came out and it was broken. Like, everything was broken, didn't work right. If you had the older machines, it was barely playable is the nicest way to put it. It was just trash. So bad that PlayStation literally pulled it off of their digital store and went, we won't even sell this piece of garbage. That's how bad it was. So they've spent all this time doing update, fixing little things here and there, making it run better as best they could here and there. But the big thing was all these new machines came out, and they had promised everybody, if you own the game, we don't want to charge you. Same thing with the microtransactions. If you have the new machines and you already own the game, when we do the update for the Series X and the PlayStation 5, we're going to make it so the thing runs in 4K, like I always talk about. Like, these games now look like Pixar movies that you're playing.
Yeah.
And so they kept promising this update to people while they're trying to fix their broken game. So all this goodwill they had built up, all these Game of the Year awards, all this Witcher 3 stuff that led to a TV show for this book guy, and I believe it's Poland. They made it so popular. All this goodwill, they ruined it.
I remember the outrage in this.
Oh, it was huge. All over the news, financial things. The company got sued by their shareholders. It was a whole mess.
Is this the game? Am I misremembering this? Is this the game that Cyrano does something with? Yes. Okay.
That's exactly right. Cyrano came out at on the Xbox yearly, showcase, and the guy.
Keanu Reeves, if anyone doesn't know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like the name Keanu. We're not talking about the cat from the Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah, that's a cat or dog?
Cat.
But yeah, it was huge, and then they destroyed all their goodwill. So again, a year and a half goes by. They're releasing these minutiae, these little bitty updates. It comes out as Cyberpunk 1.0 is the software. Then there's like 1.1. Well, we made it so that the citizens walk properly. It's like little stuff, and they incrementally do it. And they kind of held a stealth. They put out a thing, it was either last week or the week before, where they're like, hey, live stream tomorrow. And everyone's like, what are they doing? Why would they do a live stream tomorrow? And sure enough, people start digging into the Steam software on the computer or on the Xbox, and they're realizing that there's an update waiting. And sure enough, the next morning they did a live stream, and they pushed out the Series X for the PlayStation PS5 update. And tons of fixes. And they added a bunch of stuff in. All this is being done for free. They would have done it for free anyway, because that's the type of company they were. But now they're just trying to get back to zero. But on top of it, they released this great update. So now on my Series X, this thing's pumping out pretty close to 4K. It has something called a variable refresh rate. So 4K is 2160 by, 3840? 2160 lines this way, 3,840 lines this way. Refresh rate is how many times all 2,160 lines get refreshed. So you can either have 30 frames a second, 60 frames a second. It's literally refreshing all 2,100 lines in 60 frames a second. 4K quality graphics, ray tracing. I mean, you're seeing reflections off a car paint that's bouncing off of another thing, casting a shadow. Like, it looks great, and it seems to have all this stuff working properly. The citizens, you would shoot a gun in the middle of a street, like if you're just being an idiot, you'd throw a round up in the air.
Like I would play.
Yeah, nobody would move. Nobody would act startled. Now you do it, and it's chaos. Like, woo! You hear people screaming down the street. Down the street ahead, you'll see someone like stop and like turn around and react. They won't run because they're further away. Like they don't quite get it. They have these little weird ambient things now. Like, it didn't have like the GTA fun stuff, the sort of spontaneous silliness, or a Skyrim world. Like spontaneous. Oh, well, there's an orc now. A dragon has flown in, and it didn't have any of that stuff. And now you're walking down the street, and all of a sudden, a car full of gang members, you hear the gunshots coming. All of a sudden, they'll come hauling over a hill, take a bit of air, like the Dukes of Hazzard, land, drive past you, firing behind them, and then all of a sudden you hear the sirens, and here comes the squad car. Wow, jump down, and they're shooting at the car in front of them. Citizens are diving out of the way. So they've added all this fun stuff in, and I've been playing it again. I stopped. It worked okay on my Xbox One X, even, which was a slightly better console. It still worked okay on that one. But the second they go, well, we're still doing an update. It's going to look way better. I was like, you know what? I'm shelving it. Well, I pulled it back out, did the update, and man, it looks great. I mean, it's not as depressing as like a Blade Runner. I mean, it is depressing. It's the bad version of the cybernetic future. Everyone's got, like, there are gang members where their entire eye area has been removed, and it's all metal and cyborg parts with like lenses that move around, or someone's jaw has been replaced by like trap jaw, and it's like cybernetic, or half their head is missing, and they got like the metal thing, but you can see circuits and stuff, and then you can like see their brain under glass. So it's that weird, heavy, heavy sci-fi, heavy Blade Runner, heavy cyborg future, where just about everybody is doing this kind of stuff, leveled cities and all the stuff you see in sci-fi movies. But you if you get out of the bigger city part, I mean, the map is gigantic. If you ever played a Grand Theft Auto game, which I know you have, the cities now are, I'm talking like a Skyrim. If you start at one end and you walk your character, it'll take you 7 hours to get from one end of the map to the other just walking. So, but you make your way out of the city. You get into a car, you take off, you run, now you're out in the desert, and things are painted these bright colors. Everything has tons of the sort of holographic signage, that it's a sci-fi trope, not a trope, but standard, the floating signs that you see in a Blade Runner. It's all over everything, but this is like sort of bubbly and bright in this city where the sun comes, around a building, and it's not covered in smog and smoke. It's dirty, but it's not 100% bleak. And but the world is super interesting. One of the missions you go on is you have to go into this. You're not there to kill someone, but I think you're there to save someone. And when you go in, the gang members, I believe, is taking someone hostage. You go in, you clear out the building, you get to her. She's in a tub full of ice, and what they're doing is they're harvesting her cyborg parts.
Uh,
But when you get there, you were
so have to
told.
put them in ice to harvest cyborg parts?
Well, that's the thing is you find her. I think they're pretty much done at that point.
Okay.
It's not. It's to keep the body fresh, the fleshy parts fresh. But at that point, you get in, but you realize when you jack in, to like her port or whatever here, you get in, and then you realize you've been sent in there to get her, but you don't realize she's like, if I remember right, she was like Richie Rich, and she had like a health pass.
Mm-hmm.
And when you jack into her, it turns like her equipment on, and when it does that, it sends the signal to her family's able to afford the best health care. But the healthcare here, because the city's not safe, is like militarized. And all of a sudden, the wall in the room blows apart, and this floating ambulance flies up to this part of the skyscraper you're on. Bunch of guys get out with guns, but they're paramedics. And they pick her up and they take her. She's a wealthy person's daughter, if I remember correctly. And that's not why you were there. So you're kind of set up in a way. And it's one of the missions you go on. And so you realize, like, there's clearly the rich people. There's clearly the poor people who can afford this stuff. Clearly, if you were kidnapped for parts, someone probably wouldn't have the money to pay a guy like you to get you out of there. But in this case, she comes from a family who has money. And it's just super interesting. The story's, middling, but good. It's not great. There are other games I like the story much better. But the world is so vibrant and good looking and colorful and interesting, and I had it on, and Mrs. Fun walked past, and I'm like, look, I'm standing in like a square, like in between some office buildings, and there's a holographic goldfish that is up in the air above me, and it's like an advertisement, and it's just floating around while these people are going about their day on the sidewalk, and they're stopping to chat or they're waiting for the red light. It's super neat. And it's like getting to play Blade Runner. And again, more synthwave music, tons of it.
Yeah, right.
So it's right up my alley. And I'll put a link to the trailer and stuff, and just to see how nice it looks and how interesting it is. Again, it's an investment. It's not a game where you can play for like an hour. This is, if you go and do all the side stuff and you go and do the main story and you talk to all the people and you get all the good things, you're probably talking 50, 60, 70 hours. It's a couple weeks of playing every, night, a couple nights, but it's really fun.
Okay. All right. I'm glad that was fixed for all the people who were mad. And it's funny, it's a weird segue to go from that because I just finished going from music to TV now. I just finished Reacher on Amazon, which I wasn't sure if I was going to watch initially. I am a fan of at least one of the Tom Cruise did 2 movie versions of this Lee Child book character, and it was a big thing when back years. The first movie came out in 2012 December, I think I got that right, and it was a huge brouhaha back in the day because they cast Tom Cruise. And it's just, we go through this. It was probably, I can't think of a bigger casting no, or at least the fans were so up in arms, maybe since Michael Keaton as Batman. I can't think of anything in between where the fans are just like, they throw up their arms like, what the hell are you doing? Jack Reacher is 6'5", he's 382 pounds, and he can kick your ass just by looking at you, all that kind of stuff. And, I had not read the books, so I have no, stake in this character. I would go see a Tom Cruise movie. Okay, I've seen Tom Cruise kick ass in the movies. It's like Eddie Murphy says in Raw, is like, you put me in the movie, I kick your ass, but in real life, I can't fight for shit. But Tom Cruise in the movies, I've seen him fight, and very credibly so. So all he has to do is fight some bad guys in Jack Reacher. Okay, that's fine. But again, fans of the book were so up in arms because this character is just a monster. He's just a beast. Okay. Well, apparently for the new series, they found their beast.
That guy's been massive.
An actor named Alan Ritchson, who I was not familiar with at all. It wasn't until I started watching the show that I even went back and looked at his resume. It turns out he just recently had directed some science fiction movie
Really?
that went straight to video. It's called Dark Web, Cicada, and a number, I think the year or something like that. Yeah, I was just like,
he was also Aquaman, I think, in something, right? Did you ever find out which one?
He was
Smallville or
I think it was Smallville.
One
yeah, he was Smallville, and he did something else on one of the other superhero shows as well. So I mean, he's been acting for a while. He's done a lot of TV.
That's what he was. He's Hawkman.
He was Hawkman
in the Teen Titans on HBO Go.
Okay.
He's Hawkman. Or no, Hawk.
Okay.
Hawk and Dove. He is
right.
Hawk, not Hawkman. What's going to be in Black Adam? Yes, that's where I screwed that up. He's Hawk on Teen Titans on HBO Go.
I remember seeing that as well.
Yeah.
So he's been out there for a while, and this is obviously his big calling card. And you look at him and you go like, okay, yeah, I see. This is the guy. I mean, Tom Cruise is half this guy's size in every direction, pretty much. Okay, and but the thing about the Jack Reacher character was that he wasn't just some hulking beast that could kick your ass. He was also incredibly smart. He was basically like a Sherlock Holmes character. It's like he saw all the angles. He could look at something. He could look at you, size you up, tell you where you've been, where your clothes have been, what you ate for lunch, all that kind of stuff. That sort of classic, Sherlock Holmes stuff, and which is very evident. I barely remember the second Jack Reacher movie because I thought it was not good at all. The first one I think is very entertaining. And some of the best stuff in that movie is Tom Cruise kicking ass, but also the way that he breaks down the crime and figures out what all the missing pieces and whatnot. But the thing about the Jack Reacher movie is that for all the hubbub that people went at that movie because of the casting, that movie was pretty much the warm-up for the next Mission Impossible movies, because that was Christopher McQuarrie did Jack Reacher, and he's done the last two Mission Impossible movies with Cruise, which I would argue are actually the two best Mission Impossible movies, and he's doing the next two as well. So without McQuarrie doing Jack Reacher, we might not have the Mission Impossible movies we have today. So silver lining, folks, it was okay to cast Cruise as Reacher. But I just finished the new Amazon show, and when the show started, going into it knowing nothing about Alan Ritchson, and I mentioned this to you earlier, that I was a little worried that they finally got the type right, but maybe they didn't get the actor.
It's always the fear, right? You cast for the size or the look, but then the actor may not be so great.
Right. And so I was worried, and I was proven wrong pretty quickly. I mean, the first couple scenes in the movie, he doesn't talk much, and I guess that's very much in line with the character, that he is very much internal. That a lot of stuff that is more on the page, and it's sort of him thinking. You hear what's in his head, but he's not always verbalizing it to people because he's much smarter than they are, and he's not trying to give away the house or anything. So he doesn't talk a lot, I guess, in the books as much. But here, it's a television show, so they have to communicate information to the audience. So the first couple scenes, he's very quiet. He's just giving looks and whatnot. I'm just like, did they Lundgren this a little bit? I was a little worried about it. But then very quickly, in the first quarter of the show, he starts to go into the Sherlock Holmes routine, and he's very good at it. He's very good, and the show itself, I mean, it not everything has to be Shakespeare. Not everything has to be, Citizen Kane and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not damning it with faint praise. Sometimes it's just the show you want at that time, and this was, it's a great blend the things that I liked about the movie, and I'm sure that people really like about the character in the book, that he's a very smart character. He's smarter than everyone else on the show. He's a smart ass, 100% smart ass. He's always denigrating even the people he trusts in the show, and he will kick your ass. And there's almost, I mean, it's almost unfair. I mean, you look at the guy and the fact that he also is so skillful that he's going to win just about every time. And maybe that might kill some of the suspense for some people watching the show. But it's nice to see someone get their beating, and I enjoy that immensely. Uh, Given that so many people don't get the comeuppance they deserve these days, that seeing him justly uh, take out the bad guys in many different ways in this show was just immensely satisfying. And it's an 8-episode show. It's a single mystery. It's based on the very first book that Lee Child wrote. They've already, like, 3 episodes in. I didn't watch it from the beginning, so I don't know if they released all the episodes right away or if it was one a week. I think they released them all at the same time.
It's on
But
Netflix.
no, it's Amazon.
Amazon.
It's on Amazon, yeah. Because I think
pretty good about that, right? They just dump everything all out at once.
I thought some they have, some they haven't. But I honestly don't know because I don't watch a whole lot of Amazon shows. Like I've only seen a little bit. I've seen bits of Jack Ryan and whatnot. I haven't really gone the full route with that show. But this one, again, it was the episodes, they fly by. They're incredible. They're very funny. They're the violence is great. The action is great. The story is very labyrinthine. When you think there's so many people involved with the conspiracy that's going on during the show that you almost start to lose track of exactly where they are and where there might be a double cross, and you think this person might be involved, and then that person's dead, and you never know where it's going. And it builds to an incredibly very satisfying, killing spree at the end, which is sometimes exactly what you want. I always say that every movie, that every movie should almost end in a shootout, and I'll be a happy person. Jane Austen.
How
shootout.
often, even in the, like you said, the Mission Impossible movies or Die Hard, again, the best movie ever, or whatever. I don't care. Jackie Chan movies, or you can pick a bunch of them. But even MI3 or like Sergio said, it's his favorite. But all the MI movies, the Tom Clancy movies.
Yeah.
You're looking for the confrontation. You're looking for the showdown in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
You're looking for the hallway fight in I can't remember the karate, the martial arts movie. Which one?
I'd say Cobra Kai.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that too. Or you're looking for that part because you're gonna enjoy it. There's gonna be some fun beatings going down, especially when it's done well by someone who can do it. There's nothing worse than a bad fight scene.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
So when it's done well enough,
yeah, because you know someone's not good at the fighting stuff when they're really trying to edit around it. You can tell that someone is not good, or that the director is not good at shooting something because they have to edit it so freakishly that you can't see what's going on.
Ben Affleck, Daredevil.
Okay, there you go. I'm
going to give that to the director though, because Ben Affleck has fought in other movies and he looks good.
There you go. But in this one, and it has the kind of action cliche that I always loved going back just as a boy and just reading stuff, is that by the end of the show, all your heroes get their confrontation with one particular villain. Everyone gets their man, and I enjoy the hell out of that, and I guess it's even different from the book, the way that some of that stuff goes down. So the fact that they went that far to give all of our heroes someone to fight in the final episode, just made me, I had a great big smile on my face watching it. So Reacher, I recommend it for people who just want, if you like the Tom Cruise movie, there's no reason you won't like this, and you might like it more because the guy fits the part. But again, go back to Jack Reacher. There's a great car chase in that movie. And
first one.
The very first one, there's a great car chase in that movie, and there are a couple great fight scenes, like brutal fight scenes that Cruise gets in it that are very fun. And the conspiracy is, it's ridiculous, but it's fun. So Reacher.
Yeah, I have to admit, I never watched the two movies. I don't know why. The trailers never appealed to me.
Mhm.
I never even gave them a chance.
You should watch you would enjoy the first one.
Yeah?
The first one's
Okay.
solid. Oh yeah, first one's solid. The
And
ending is
Yeah.
okay, but everything leading up to it is solid and it's fun.
Okay. And the TV show is, what'd you say it was? How many episodes?
Eight episodes. Hour
nothing.
40 to 40 50 to an hour basically.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm sure I'll be looking for something to watch in the middle of the night or whatever. And
Yeah.
I'll throw it on. I don't know if Mrs. Fun would want to watch it, but maybe we'll watch the first one and see what she says. But, yeah, well, maybe I'll give that a shot. I have to say, the one part I did see. I apologize, by the way. Just before this, I shoved down a piece of pizza and then I started to drink a couple sips of pop.
Oh, you're going with your.
I can't burp, and so
Nope.
I got that. I got like a gurgle thing going on. I can't
Except
get
during
rid
my life.
Did you ever tell that story, by the way?
I told the story on the podcast.
Which theirs though, right? I haven't put them on my list. Which one was that?
It was on Movie Madness.
I'm still catching up.
It was on the last Why Is This Not on Blu-ray show,
Okay.
and I chose my life, and I told the story of how during the most emotional moment in that movie in the theater at the sneak preview that we all went to, that you hadn't burped since I had known you, and at least outwardly.
I went to say something to you, and I went like this. I went, and when I did that, I
Yeah.
opened my mouth. Something happened, and
it was Dad, I love you, and you just went in the theater. I'll never forget it as long as I live.
I looked at you.
Dad,
I
I
was like,
love you.
I've never burped. It was literally the first time I had a proper burp in my
Yeah.
entire life, and it was what? I was probably mid-20s. It was probably 20 years ago at this point.
It's the emotional peak
Yeah.
of the movie.
I love you,
And
Dad.
you did it like that. Unbelievable.
I've since done it a few more times, but yeah, I can't. Like right now, even if I wanted to,
Yeah.
I can't burp. So I keep doing
Sure.
this today because I don't want to gurgle and make noise.
You don't want to hear that air
It's disgusting.
online. Yeah.
I found multiple people now that have this thing
Yeah.
that they can't burp, even.
Really?
Yeah.
Did
It's
you
like
got
a
like
thing. Supposedly,
the
there's a
support
surgery
group?
you can get. There's a guy who got surgery.
Really?
So it was you. Yeah, it was me. I did that surgery. It was totally an accident. I literally went to go, wow, because it's such an emotional scene. I really like that movie. And when I turned to you, I was gonna be like, I think I was literally just gonna say like, wow, that was heavy, or wow. And I turned my head, and something just lined up, and whatever we ate for dinner that night, wow, right in his face. Just and it was
I don't
loud.
remember what we had for dinner that night. It must have been at somewhere in one Schaumburg
It was
place.
traumatic. You've now buried that memory because I burped right in your face.
Yeah.
Everybody around us was like, "What is your problem?" I didn't do it on purpose.
I expect it on the soundtrack now. When it's like, if I ever play it, it's just like, was that in the movie? No, it was right next to my ear.
I'll do it now. Every once in a while, I'll do it now upstairs, and Mrs. Fun will go, "You burped!" Like she's proud of me because I can't. I'm like, "Oh, it hurts." And then, wow.
Oh. And Sergio, who's texting us in the chat room right now.
So
yes, Werner Herzog is briefly in the first Jack Reacher movie, and anytime you bring in Werner Herzog, it's always great.
But yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll throw it up on there. I can't remember where the segue I was making, but I was talking about those movies. I'll give the movie or the show a shot. So, I talked about a comedian last week. With Karen, because I'm looking forward to the George Carlin stuff, and you helped us out because I knew you had just confirmed it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are many other people I like, obviously for different reasons. I mean, the people that really change your view of something. There are things that happen in comics, like Sandman, that have forever changed what comics mean to me. There's that kind of stuff, right? These epiphany level experiences in certain media or books. You read this particular book for the first time and it changes your entire view of books or your understanding of books or whatever, comic books and music. The first time you hear Beatles, it either does something for you or it doesn't. When it does, it just changes everything. And I was talking about Carlin and how he's one. Bill Hicks is another.
Yeah.
These are, Richard Pryor. I was talking about. There's clearly your top forevers.
Yeah.
Your Hall of Famers, right? But then there's a ton of comedians. I love stand-up specials. If you put on a good one, I'll watch just about anybody as long as they're good, right? All different levels, half-hour ones, hour ones, seasoned people, new ones. I'll give them a shot, see if they're funny. But someone that popped into my view purely on accident. I think I watched the HBO One Night Stand or half-hour comedy special, the half-hour thing they were doing for a few years there. And it was usually newer comics. They'd give them 30 minutes and, they introduce the comics to the world.
Right.
I found, just thinking about her makes me laugh. Her name is Maria Bamford.
Yeah, I know Maria Bamford.
You've seen her. Everybody has seen her, but you probably don't know that you've seen her. Because for about, I want to say it was like 3 years straight, Target used her as the Christmas Target lady, and not Target lady like Kristen Wiig from Saturday Night Live, the girl, the woman at the register, like helping you, and she's quirky and that kind of stuff. She basically played a character that needed to do Christmas shopping, and she would go in with her cart. She always wore bright red clothes, and the thing with Maria Bamford is, everybody's got a style, right? And obviously you know who she is, but for the people who don't, if you know who Bobcat Goldthwait is, or if you know who Jake Johansson is, if you know Emo Phillips, these are all older comics, but I don't know of anybody now that's kind of Mitch Hedberg, which again is now old, but like he may be the most recent guy that sort of has a very really distinct voice, a very distinct delivery. I don't want to give like a trigger warning, but the idea is Maria Bamford has been on more than one occasion, even in her own specials, explained that she's had some pretty severe psychiatric issues, even to the point of attempting suicide. So the way she deals with it is through humor, and I think she has multiple times said through medication, but she has a very distinct way of talking, and she's very animated, and she makes voices. Her voice is kind of squeaky, but she'll talk like her mom, and it's this sort of stilted older voice. But then she'll talk about like her girlfriends, her friends that were girls from like high school who, maybe a little more popular than her. They have, oh, how are you? And she does that kind of stuff. But more often than not, she's talking about her experiences, that feeling awkward in life. And the way she says things is awkward. But it is undeniably funny. And clearly I wasn't the only one that thought she was funny, because Target, a huge corporation, knew that she had something and made her their target person. This is probably 5, 6, 7 years ago at this point. And she became their literal Christmas poster person for like 3 years straight, because there's something endearing about her. The people that saw her in the Target ads probably don't know of her struggles, but she comes off as lovable and interesting and quirky and fun. And again, people clearly saw what I saw and what others have seen, and someone at Netflix gave her a show, a semi-autobiographical show called Lady Dynamite. Yeah. And it only ran for 2 seasons, and it's about her and her 2 dogs and her friends and the weird situation she gets involved in. And I can't, it's impossible to explain, which is hard because I want to tell you should give it a shot, but it's gonna be one of those things where I know it's kind of like a Tim and Erik thing. You are either gonna like it, or you're gonna go. Erik, meaning me, is this person's ridiculous. This is not funny, and I get it. It definitely has a. You have to have a certain whatever. It just has to hit you the right way. I can't explain it. It's not like, well, it's like South Park. Oh, it's like whatever. It's it's like a George Carlin thing, or it's like Friends. It's not. It's not. It's its own weird, awkward but funny thing. Again, I'll put links to the trailers and the Target commercials and stuff, and I constantly find myself going either back to Lady Dynamite or throwing on the half-hour comedy special. She's done some hour specials. One of them, which is genius, is I think this was the last one, and I think the last one's on Prime. So if you're an Amazon Prime person, I think it's available for you for free. She does her hour comedy special. This is before the pandemic, too, mind you. In the living room of her parents' house. And the only people in the audience are her parents. So she comes out, and there's like a music guy on a keyboard next to her, and like just a curtain in the living room. And I don't even know if it has her name on it. She comes out, and she does her act for her mom and dad. If that tells you anything about her, I don't know of any other comedy special. There's a thing I'm probably going to end up talking about. Trixie Mattel did a thing like in her living room to her dolls, but like, and she did it after Maria Bamford. I don't know of any other comedy special prior to that where someone did it in a living room for not only two people, but their own parents, who she constantly makes fun of. And part of the making fun of them is her mother. She basically explains like her mother caused her some of her anxiety and her issues. And I think her mother's a clinical psychologist and talks about people putting her into a mental institution to her mother in the living room while she's cracking jokes. It's the weirdest thing, but I find her so interesting and charming and funny and weirdly relatable. Not that I have the same issues as her, but you see her anxiety, you see her, issues with dealing with things, whatever that little bit you can key into her is, she's vulnerable. And she talks about it, and she makes fun of it. And again, I like I said, what do you know her from other than, is it even the Target commercials you know her from?
No, I'm actually struggling to remember the Target commercial. I'm sure there's something in the back of my brain that I must have seen those commercials. But the two things that I know her for more recently, I know of Lady Dynamite, but I never saw it.
Okay.
So but I'm aware of it. And it came out, I think, sometime after she had done at least one of these things. But one of them you mentioned last week is the episode she does on Check It Out with Steve Brule, where she plays the woman who's got the scientific thing that can tell you whether or not you're ugly.
Yes.
Or not.
I put a link. I think I put a link in last week's episode.
Yes, and that that is so hilarious because that you could tell that character is carrying some sort of baggage with her. And Steve is clearly trying to cross the line, and she kind of just tries to be polite about it, like no, and then it just all comes out and just
it gets worse and worse. The next one's like no, she yells, but then the third one she screams right in his face.
Right. Yeah. Well, my favorite one of all of them is that it gets interrupted by the graphics at the very beginning, where he comes out and he immediately like goes in for like a kiss. And she goes, no, thank you, I'm not interested. And then like the Check It Out thing comes out, like to interrupt the awkwardness. So that's funny. But she's also on the 4th season of Arrested Development. That was on the one that Netflix, when Netflix rescued the show and put it on the 4th season. That's sort of that fractured season where they didn't have everyone together, so they did like all these individual standalone episodes, and then it was like they pieced it all together. It was a clever way to do what they had to do. It's not always the most successful. It's not as good as the first 3 seasons, but I admire the attempt and what they were trying to do. And there are a lot of laughs during that show. And Maria Bamford actually plays a recovering addict, I think a crack addict, on the show that ends up hooking up with David Cross's character.
The guy always wants to paint himself blue, right?
Yes, right. He blew himself.
Blue. Yeah.
Right. So they're together for like the good bulk of the show.
That's
So
another
there's a
show
lot.
I have to go
Yeah.
back and watch from the beginning. I know
Yeah.
she's on a she confirmed on Twitter or something that she was like a semi-reoccurring character on a show, or she popped up once or twice over like 2 seasons or 3 seasons. And going into the next season, her and her husband on the show, the characters on the show, are becoming regulars on that show. So I know
Okay.
she'll be more prevalent. I don't know the show in particular,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think the half-hour comedy, the 30-minute like kind of introduction to her is on HBO Go, and I think the hour in the living room with her parents, the most recent one, is on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And again, if you like her, just go to Twitter, like her account. She posts stuff all the time. She's super funny, like silly funny. One of the things she does, and this again tells you the type of person she is she's, I don't know if it's an insecurity, I don't know if it's just her quirk, I don't know if she just likes to do this for fans, like as a publicity thing, but I think it's more sort of goes along with kind of her psyche, is that she'll tell people like, my show's coming up Friday or Saturday. Who here on Twitter during lunch today would like a one-person show over Zoom? I want to test my hour. And if a bunch of people be like, I want to. I almost got in one day. Mrs. Fun almost got in, I think, on one day. And she'll Zoom with you. She used to meet up with people in person, but which blows my mind. But I think now she does it over Zoom. And if she picks you, she'll connect with you on Zoom like we are, and she'll do her bit that she's going to do that weekend for you by yourself.
Wow.
Just to sort of test it out and make sure. She already knows she's getting like kind of a dedicated fan who gets her because they like her on Twitter. But then you get a one-on-one meeting. You get to say hi to her, and she does her bits for you. And then you get to like, oh, thanks. I liked your act or whatever. It's nice to meet you. And then she just goes away and does her thing. But yeah, I've never heard of anybody like this. She's a one of a kind. Totally different. If you like comedy at all, I would even go as far as to say in a weird way whether I think why am I drawing a blank? Man on the Moon.
Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, where Kaufman made you think he didn't know what he was doing when in actuality he was manipulating everybody.
Mm-hmm.
She straight up says like, this is me and these are my quirks, and you either enjoy them or you don't. But she comes off as quirky, but she's genuine. Yeah. She's not doing it to have her her weirdness be her weirdness. She's not trying to put one over on you. This is just her.
Yeah, I don't have a great tolerance for that kind of stuff. I like a little bit of real to creep in when people are being funny, or that they have these quirks and whatnot. I'm if it's just an act, I'm not as interested in that.
Even Howie Mandel at the beginning used to put the glove on his head and make the noises.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people that have kind of done that over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Get Her Done guy that's not him.
Right.
It's a character.
Bobcat is clearly was not him, but Bobcat made me laugh because it was weird,
And he eventually got away from it and showed you the real him.
Yes.
He's not still Get Her Dunning it.
No, he's not.
He's him now.
Evolved. Right.
He explains why I did it then, why I'm doing it now, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's just, she's super interesting, quirky, fun, one of a kind. She makes me laugh, super silly. And again, you will either get on board with me and be like, yeah, I've never heard of her, and this is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Or you'll probably go, all right, I don't get it. I never need to see her again. But I'm willing to bet at least 50% of you will watch her and be totally interested. And even if you don't like her stand-up, say, a lot of Lady Dynamite is the TV show on Netflix is similar enough to her style that you may like it more in a sitcom-y setting as opposed to a comedy special type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely do yourself a favor.
Okay. Lady Dynamite, or Marie Bamford.
Yeah.
Stand-up stuff. Okay. Well, I told you I was going to get to the movies eventually tonight, and I wanted to bring one up because I'm going to be talking about on the show, my show this week. And but I haven't. I mean, I've mentioned it. I've just kind of talked about it briefly, but I want to throw it out there a little bit further because finally coming out in theaters this weekend is Cyrano, which is the new adaptation of classic the French play Cyrano de Bergerac, which we've had many versions of over the years. There's a great version with Jose Ferrer in 1950, I think is the year it came out. A terrific version of the story. Obviously, Roxanne with Steve Martin, his take on it in 1987, which is still one of the great comedies as far as I'm concerned. And now this one with Peter Dinklage, and that's just the start of the revisionism of the story, because it's not Peter Dinklage with the big nose. It's just Peter Dinklage. That is him being a little person is the flaw, so to speak, that he believes, or however you view it, is the thing that's preventing him from really wooing and having the confidence to woo the love of his life, Roxanne, in the film, which they are friends, and he's clearly harbors feelings for her. But then Christian, this other guy, comes in, this other soldier in the movie is played by Kelvin Harrison Jr., who's one of our great young actors right now. If you don't know who Kelvin Harrison Jr. is, watch a movie. There's a horror movie called It Comes at Night that is really great with Joel Edgerton, a great like apocalyptic. Only a few people are left. Virus is wiped out. This is well before the pandemic too. Virus has wiped out everything. The family's living in the woods. You have to seal everything off to make sure whatever's out there doesn't get in. He's great now. There's another movie called Loose with him and Naomi Watts. That is a really great sort of portrait of sociopathic behavior. But in this one, he gets and also a movie called Waves. I forgot to mention Waves, which is from the same director of It Comes at Night. That's it's a harsh movie. It's not even recommending it here is probably not isn't going to keep people on the positive riff. But Cyrano will. And Kelvin Harrison Jr., who plays Christian, he plays the other guy that is the handsome one that Roxanne sees, and forms a fat infatuation.
You're doing air quotes.
I'm doing like the girl Sheila.
Yeah, it's just Sheila. Why do you hand quotes?
Right. Well, handsome is in the eye of the beholder, and that's the whole
idea of this.
Right. Exactly. But again, he's not like people who might only know the Steve Martin version. What a doofus that Rick Rossovich plays in that movie. He is such a doofus. Doesn't really have a lot of positive qualities except his handsomeness, basically. And he's kind of dumb. He doesn't know how to talk to just about anybody. He ends up not being a great guy. That's not who the Christian character is a bit different. And as he's played here by Kelvin Harrison Jr., he's just a guy who likes a girl, and he doesn't know how to talk to her and enlist Cyrano's help. But you have Dinklage playing Cyrano, and for people,
how great is he?
I'm getting to it.
Yeah,
trust me. For people who may have been seeing the commercials, which they're finally playing now because the movie's finally coming out, maybe weirded out when they go see the movie and realize that it's actually a musical. Because the commercials for the movie, they are not at all advertising the fact that it's a musical. And the music, the songs, this version, the musical version, was originally a stage play. And Dinklage was in it. Haley Bennett, who plays Roxanne, is actually, I don't know if she's married to the director, Joe Wright, or they're just dating, but they're together, I guess.
So they actually got people from the stage play to be in the movie.
Yes.
Wow. That's
yeah.
Cool.
Dinklage and Bennett. I know Dinklage did. And I think Bennett did it as well on stage in Europe, I believe. But it was a musical there too. And the music was written by Aaron and Bryce Dessner, who are in a band called The National. I
want to say I know one of their songs. I don't know why.
You probably have, and I'm blanking if they had a hit or a couple hits or whatever. I know I've heard their music before, and they've been doing some composing and stuff recently. I've seen their names have popped up on a few different movies, but in this one, and what they do is they take a lot of the verbiage and the poetry from the play and turn it into song. So like some of the songs, it's not so much Dinklage doing a whole kind of West Side Story thing where he just breaks out and then starts doing a whole dance and whatnot. The musical numbers in this movie are not as big and flashy and flamboyant as your sort of standard typical music where not just your principals break out in a song, but then everyone in the background starts dancing and doing a whole Blues Brothers West Side Story kind of thing. Their performances, a lot of the musical numbers are even there's a tinge of sadness to them in the way that in any given moment it's usually something about Cyrano not being able to say out loud to what he wants to say to Roxanne, and then the things he puts down on paper for Christian. Christian, even the musical numbers themselves almost have like a slow motion feel to it. You just kind of like get drawn into the words more than the any kind of flamboyance of your kind of standard musical. And this version, when I watched, because we got screeners of it during award season, and for some reason it played to the point where that it would qualify for awards, but it kept getting delayed from its theatrical release. It was supposed to come out in January, then it was late January, then it was February, now it's late February.
Is this a COVID thing or production thing?
No, it wasn't even. I mean, the movie was done. I saw this movie back in November, December, late November, early December, even.
Why the push off then, you think?
I just think that they were looking for the right time to release it to the public. And I think I am convinced that these delays, for whatever reason, cost Dinklage an Oscar nomination, because the field for Best Actor this year, I mean, they're like the top three people were pretty much set, but I think that, and Dinklage was out there doing press. You might have heard he even criticized Disney for the whole Snow White thing and whatnot. So that, I mean, he was out there doing interviews. He was doing his part, the campaigning kind of part, and talking about this movie. That's the whole reason he was out there doing interviews. Dinklage is so good in this movie, which is a foregone conclusion to begin with. He's just so good. Going back to when I first saw The Station Agent so many years ago, which was sort of his big breakout role. And obviously, everyone knows him from Game of Thrones. But in this movie, there's something about his performance that is so beautiful and sad, and unlike any of the other Cyranos I had seen. Steve Martin obviously plays it mostly for laughs, but there is poignancy to certain scenes in that movie as well. But he's got the Cyrano character is like Reacher in a way. He has because he's like the smartest guy in the room, that he could even this he might not have the size on everyone. He has the brains, so he can outwit anybody in the room, and he also happens to be pretty good at swordplay, as the original Cyrano de Bergerac was. So in this movie, you get to see Dinklage do a lot of Errol Flynn type stuff, and that's cool. That's what they're selling in the previews. There's only a couple scenes of that, but I mean, there's a whole sword fight scene.
There's like the staircase, right? Like
there's a staircase scene, and there's a scene at the beginning of the very famous scene where he he goes on stage of this play and he disrupts the play because the actor sucks. So there's an arrogance to him, but there are two scenes in this movie, musical numbers, that are as good as some of my favorite musical numbers I've seen in recent years, and that's saying a lot considering how much I like West Side Story, which will be on Disney Plus on March 2nd. By the way, those who have not seen the new West Side Story, there's one scene late in the movie where everyone is in the play. They've gone to war, okay, and there's this entire musical number that actually features. Briefly, and this kind of surprise cameo, Glenn Hansard. If people are not familiar with Glenn Hansard, who was in Once. If you've seen the movie Once, He is. You should see the movie once because it's wonderful. He's the guy in Once. And again, my musical knowledge, I'm blanking on certain things. Swell Season is a documentary that's about him and Margaret Mercado Glova, who is also in Once. But anyway, but he shows up as one of the soldiers, and he starts singing this song, and it's this. It's this gorgeous, heartbreaking song about soldiers who know they're going to die,
Wow.
and I might be blanking on the lyric, but it's something. It goes something of the course of, like heaven is wherever I fall. And the song is so beautiful. I mean, you can almost start bursting into tears just hearing the song. But the way it's presented with the soldiers all knowing that they're going into kind of certain doom is which sets up the final act of the movie is really great. But there's the famous scene in Cyrano that everyone knows, from Roxanne to all the old versions of the story. The scene where Roxanne is in the window, Cyrano is below, and he's trying to talk for Christian. And Christian is so bad at it that Cyrano starts talking as Christian, but in Cyrano's voice. He doesn't try to disguise his voice. She's hearing it, believes it's Christian, but it's really Cyrano pouring his heart out to her. And it turns into this song in the movie. And the name of the song is called Overcome. I'd recommend people see the movie before they hear it, but you can hear it on YouTube. A lot of the songs are on YouTube. And you watch Dinklage during the scene. The song between him and Roxanne is so beautiful. The music is so just incredible. And when I saw this scene on the screener, and I watched the movie straight through, and I was mesmerized by the movie. And at the end of the movie, when the movie was over, I went back and I watched this one scene, no lie, 6 times in a row.
Wow.
I kept replaying because I love the song so much. And there are shots in this. There's one particular shot that is burned into my brain of Cyrano, Dinklage's Cyrano, starting to move away from the wall and starting to move closer up to the window. There's a staircase, and she's in the window and she's singing her part of the song, and she's not loving for Christian that she doesn't know is Cyrano and whatnot. And Cyrano just kind of slowly comes up the stairs while she's singing, and the way he looks at her, it's burned into my brain. The way he looks, it's this like cautious, like, should I move up further? But I can't stop moving towards her. I want to be with this person so badly. And yeah, this movie, it's people who know the Cyrano story, it doesn't end like Roxanne does. I'm not spoiling too much here, but the movie is a tearjerker. It really is. And this movie, it really got to me. I did not expect it. I didn't know if I needed another version of Cyrano de Bergerac, but it really hit me in a sweet spot watching this movie. And I listened to that song Overcome on a loop. I found it on YouTube, and I was playing it in the car on my phone and whatnot. It is beautiful, and it's finally coming out in theaters. So if you feel comfortable going out to the theater, I highly recommend people go out and see Cyrano.
It was a topic brought up, at least in this house. Mrs. Fun said either she had seen the preview, or she's like, isn't there a Cyrano movie coming out, or didn't I see? And I said, yeah. And at the time, I didn't know. I think you had said it was coming out soon, but then it must have got delayed again. So now that, and then you had told me that when you were allowed to, you explained to me that just be aware, it's a musical. And I was like, huh? And then you said, yeah. So when I then told her, I said, just be aware, I just found out that it's a musical. She's like, huh? I said, yes. That was my response. And so that's interesting because again, you can tell that story over and over again. You can change the issue for Cyrano. You could change the setting, the time. Obviously, Roxanne did that. It's not it's not a sword movie with castles. It's a firefighter. You can change the time. It's a story that can be told like a Shakespeare story. You could change everything around it. You could paint it a different color. It's eternal. It's
Yeah.
it's what do they call it? Evergreen. You could do
Hmm.
anything with it, and everyone's gonna love it anyway as long as you do it right. So the fact that you said it's a musical, like okay, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be a new way to tell the sword and castle version of
Hmm.
the story without it just being the sword and castle version again.
I mean, you have to appreciate any movie that gets Peter Dinklage. I think it was on Colbert with the live band singing one of the
Oh yeah,
songs.
I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
you can find that on YouTube. I think it was Overcome. I think it was my
Oh, that's
my
cool.
song from the movie, and it's Dinklage and Dinklage had again. I'm gonna bastardize the quote a little bit, but it was one of the interview shows or one of the roundtables and whatnot where we talk about like Dinklage knows he's not Frank Sinatra, you know,
Who is?
and but he talks about how that it doesn't matter as if you're singing from the heart, it doesn't matter what the tenor of your voice is, as long as you get what the words mean out of you and the way that you present it. It doesn't so much matter how you sound. If it's monotone or if it's not on. I mean, there's obviously not bad. He's not doing bad karaoke in the movie, but I mean, you hear him on Colbert. I mean, he has this very particular low key way of singing, but you can tell that it means something, that it's coming from the place that it needs to make it sound right. And that's what you hear constantly throughout the movie. And Haley Bennett, again, she's really got a voice on her too. And I think I'm gonna bring this up on my show too. When Haley Bennett, who an actress you may not be familiar with, um, first kind of arrived on the scene, she was in a movie called Music and Lyrics with Drew Barrymore and Hugh Grant, and she kind of played a. You don't even remember that movie. There you go.
No.
Yeah. And she kind of played kind of like a Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera type character, and it was like this kind of vapid, sexy, but pop star kind of thing.
Manufactured.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember railing on her in this movie.
On that movie.
Yeah, I think I might have labeled it the worst performance of the year, honestly.
That doesn't mean people
You
can't
know,
improve. How long's it
well,
been?
that's what I'm
When did that
saying.
movie
That's
came out?
exactly what
When
I'm
did that movie
saying.
come out? How, a decade ago?
2004,
Like
maybe.
almost 20 years ago.
I know. I'm just saying, but
Yeah, no, I know. I
I'm
get
saying
you.
that I'm owning up to it. I
Yeah.
don't want to give her this praise and then not take a little bit of responsibility and saying like there was a time when I said some really horrible things about the person in this movie. I didn't go back and read my review, so I don't know how bad it was, but I remember it was not good.
Well, hopefully you weren't
And I
attacking her as
watched
a
her.
person. You were
No, of course
your whole
not.
your
I
whole
was
job is to
criticizing.
critique someone's acting ability,
I
and
was
if you
critiquing
felt
their
she
acting,
wasn't a
so
good actor,
it's
then
yeah. It was not like attacking,
right,
her
you're
looks
not
or
that
her
type of person.
personality or whatnot.
Yes,
No,
of
of course
course.
not. But I was attacking the
Right.
thing that she did for a living.
Well,
Um,
true, but then in
yes,
that you're attacking is very different than critiquing. Your job as a
correct.
critic is to
Yeah,
critique acting, story,
yeah,
cinematography, music, whatever
yeah.
in the movie. So I mean, there's nothing
So
wrong with saying,
So
look,
I
I
just
didn't
want to
think
say,
she.
so if Haley, if you're listening, I didn't say great things about you in 2004, but and she was there was a movie that came out in 2020, right as the pandemic. Yeah, it was right as when the pandemic was happening, called Swallow, and it's a really bizarre, kind of disturbing movie, and she's the star of it, and she plays this woman that I don't remember all the details. She's not in a great relationship, but she starts uh, this thing where she just starts swallowing things, like things you're not supposed, like marbles, okay, like thumbtacks. It's
It's like
okay.
it's
It's
a
like that.
condition. They have
Yeah, it's
those
a
people that
condition.
eat particular things that aren't
Yes,
aren't supposed to be edible, and it has
yes,
to do with anxiety and
yes.
things. Yeah, yes.
And the movie's about that, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch this because I gag reflex myself. And there's definitely uncomfortable moments about it, but it's actually it takes the subject matter seriously, and it's not just about grossing people out with the stuff that she swallows. That there is something causing her to do that, and the movie examines that trauma. And it's a good movie, and it's a very good performance.
By
And
her.
she's yes, by Haley Bennett. She's good in that, and I think she's great in Cyrano as well. So
I don't think
I
I
hope
know
people
her,
see it.
so while you're talking here, I'm gonna look her up. Her name's
Yeah,
Haley Haley
Haley Bennett,
Bennett.
Bennett. Yes,
Yeah, I don't
she's
think
been
I know her.
in a lot of stuff. Um, she's acting regularly. She's done a lot of independent stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Was she in a movie with Chris Evans, Captain America?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. Just randomly, one of the photos that comes up is her, like,
With Chris Evans,
well, where they're like side
like
by side.
together.
It's like they're standing
Okay.
next to each other, but
I don't know.
I don't know.
Can't remember. I mean, yeah, I can't recall if she was in
Yeah, she
a.
doesn't look familiar. I don't
I'll
think
have to
I've ever
look that
seen her.
up. Yes, I mean, she hasn't been in anything. I mean, music and lyrics is probably maybe the biggest thing she was in for a while.
Hmm.
Now hopefully Cyrano. So
Well, clearly you like her in this. Like, she performs
yeah,
well and sings
I think.
and everything, and you like all of it.
And another thing that I think that this movie does, what a lot of the other versions don't do, is it actually creates a greater character for her, because like she has a song number in this movie where it's all about the desire that she's feeling, and you really get a sense that this is someone that wants love, and she wants everything that comes. She wants the entire package, and as a woman deserves that. It's not just I'm lustful for this guy and he gets my loins going and stuff like that. That's part of it, but it's also a part of a deserve. That I'm a woman, I deserve this pleasure too, and she has a song in the movie that's about that. That's pretty great as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, Cyrano was on my top 10 list last year.
Already.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I keep saying already, but when's the Oscar cutoff? Isn't it like December something?
Well,
For
yeah,
the movies that
it's
are
supposed to go
eligible for this
year.
Oscars.
This year it went back to last year. They extended it to like the end of February. This year it was
Oh.
back to normal with December. So it was out there again. The studio sent screeners to everyone. We got them. That's how I watched it. And that's how I put Cyrano a lot on my ballot in different categories. And so it qualified, but the fact that there's that period, like it's out there, and then you kind of want to have it in the public eye. You kind of want to have it. That's why Dinklage is out there doing interviews, so people are aware of it. But if people aren't talking about it and aren't seeing the movie, I don't know how they botched that. I mean, because the movie was not going to be some giant hit anyway, and there wasn't, not like in January there was a huge bouillabaisse of movies that were coming out. They could have easily put this movie out at the beginning of January or even in the middle of January, right when people are marking their ballots, and everyone go like, "Oh my God, look at Dinklage." He wasn't going to win, but he should have been nominated for this movie. It's my biggest regret of the entire Oscars this year that he was not nominated. He's incredible in this movie.
That's good to hear. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously people liked him in movies before Game of Thrones, and then obviously Game of Thrones, everybody loved him,
Right.
on that show. So it's good to hear that, he's continuing to find roles that clearly please him. I mean, clearly he, like you said, had a critique of what Disney's doing stuff, and very easily, unfortunately, a good actor like him can be, well, you're not on the TV show anymore, and you're, whatever the issue is, they want to typecast you, and it's like, well, we just don't have anything for you anymore. Or, you can be in another movie where you're just the sidekick, or you're just whatever in the background. It's nice to see that. I mean, clearly Cyrano, he's literally the title character. So that's kind of cool, Good. That's good to hear.
We'll see it.
Yeah, well, again, it's already been talked about in the house, so it's definitely something that's going to be done. And we just watched Encanto, and I, days working at the video store, we talked about this recently. Like, I'm not a big musical guy. I like musical numbers. I like the artistry of it. I can appreciate a good song. I get it. When it becomes the song where it's the talkie back and forth, but you sing it, stuff it immediately kills it for me. I can't do it. It doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean I'm saying people that like it, they're bad people. It's not for me. When you have where it kicks into a musical number and it's one person singing a song, or maybe even two people, like a duet, and it breaks from the speaking to a song, that I like a little bit more. and it's your traditional like Disney movie and stuff. I don't know how, you'd have to tell me how this Cyrano thing is. If it's like 85 or 90% music, where even when they talk, they have to talk like this, and they do it, and there's background. I can't.
It's not a Vita, okay, where a Vita was sung all the way through, which I think is kind of a cool thing if you can pull it off.
Again,
what Vita did.
Well, it goes back to like iambic pentameter and the beat of words and the way they flow. I get it. It's just for whatever reason I can't do it. And we watched Encanto, and I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if this is more like that kind of a musical.
It's not sing song all the way through. There's definitely breaks and dialogue. Like I said, there's sword fights in the middle of it.
Pirates of Penzance or so. You could have a musical where they're singing while they're sword fighting and yelling at each other. You know what I mean? Like you could do that still.
Yeah, there's no singing during the sword fights.
Yeah.
So you get like a good sword fight in the middle of it, and then. And
I'm not crapping on Pirates of Penzance. Let's get that clear.
You could.
I'm just saying, it's not my cup of tea.
Yes.
I can appreciate the artistry and the skill level. I could never do it.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. So I'm glad to hear this is more sort of like that kind of.
Just get swept up in the emotion, my friend.
Well, that was it. Around this house, it was, I've watched Encanto, you have to watch it. And I'm like, I know it's a musical. I will watch it, but let's just, because we were trying. I joke. I go, look, I was traumatized at the video store. You and I we talked about this. We'd put on like, any number of 50 to 100 movies. Yeah, there were quite a bit of them were action movies, but there was everything in there. Yeah. There was legitimately every kind.
There was. I mean, there were comedies.
But anytime we worked with some of our other coworkers, and those people, it was every single night was The Little Mermaid, or then it became Aladdin, or Beauty and the Beast, and that was it. And then it was replayed. You couldn't take that movie out when it was done and then put something else in. Nope. That movie was nonstop 3 times in a row for your whole shift, and then you come in the next day, and so the other person we worked with would put that on. And then you'd have to watch that until the next movie came out. And then I can't. It just did something to me, and it broke.
Well, you think it was bad there. When I eventually moved on from that store and ended up managing Hollywood Video, that was all we could play.
What?
Like we could only play Disney or animated stuff, family oriented stuff, and I think it was mostly it had to be animated. We would screw them. We would cheat. The Die Hard came on every once in a while, or something else.
So.
Yeah, well, I mean, we try. You try to keep it at least there, corporate wise. At Video Plus Emporium, it was a free for all at some point, but there you would at least try to keep it, PG-13 kind of stuff and whatnot. But the corporate, I think it was in one of the manuals that anything playing on the screens throughout the place had to be Disney or animated related.
Well, it broke me. So much so that she was like, "You want to watch Encanto?" And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then when I was in tech crew in high school, a lot of the plays that are put on are musicals. So like right now, I can sing you Clam Bake. This was a real nice clam bake. We were mighty glad we came. And because I sat there for like 3 months listening to them sing that song over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I can still sing Clam Bake because that's all I heard forever. So again, it'll be interesting because again, I like. What video would you play in the back room? We had a back room, Sergio.
We did have a back room. We called it the Sergio room.
The corporate ones didn't have back rooms. We had the saloon doors to the back room.
Well, Sergio suggested on probably an episode you haven't heard yet. I don't think it's actually. I don't think it's even edited. I'm thinking I'm in the middle of editing right now. He said that you and I should do an entire episode dedicated to Video Plus Emporium.
Oh,
and I said
we know people, so we could probably get them on here.
We probably
do a 3 or 4 window thing.
Yeah, stories we can tell, stories we can't tell.
There's a lot of stories you can't tell.
There are.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting. I like Roxanne. I like Peter Dinklage. I like the idea of it, and again, I'll certainly give it a shot. And again, it sounds like it's high demand in the house, so we're definitely going to be watching it. So, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different, although it does involve a music number.
Ooh.
Is I've been watching over the past couple days here. I finally got on the Peacemaker.
I'm 3 episodes in.
Okay. So for the people who don't know who Peacemaker is and know that I'm a big, they all had saloon doors. You're right, Sergio, they did.
Sergio wouldn't know.
Yeah. Well, the funny part, real quick, Sergio, was our back room used what? You know where I'm going.
Go on. I know exactly where you're going.
Our back room, eventually, they were in the back room, which used to be our video editing room. We used to do home video editing there, and we would do people's like home videos and stuff. We had the conversion thing with the box, so it was darked out, and you could do the 8mm and all that. And eventually, all that stuff was taken out, and that became our back room for those movies. And saloon doors were put on there. The reason was because those movies with flip books and picture books was up at the front glass
window
where people would walk past back and forth.
Yeah.
The idea was it was by the front counter. That way we could keep an eye on it and keep kids from out of it. That was the initial theory, until either a couple parents, I think, made a comment, or I think the police showed up and were like, "You can't have this."
Did the police show up?
Or the village code guy or something showed up.
Okay.
And said, "You need to move this." Because if you stood at the window and looked in the store and you happened to look down, all the books were there with the front covers in like 3-ring binders. And if people left them open, all that stuff is going right out the front window.
Yeah.
And we had to then move it into the back with the saloon doors.
Which is a weird thing, too, because we also, in the foyer, when people would enter the store, we had the big VHS
vending machine.
Vending machine.
Yep. Massive.
Also had a selection of choice titles, and there was I think there had to have been a book that had pictures.
Well,
because they had to know what to put in, what code to put in.
Well, I think the code was on the tape, but the titles weren't exactly subtle.
No,
I think you kind of knew what you were getting into.
Yes.
Why wasn't I informed? I would have been a regular customer.
We didn't know Sergio back then in the early 90s. Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, Sergio. Back then. But yeah, so
it wasn't always born in Elk Grove Village, Sergio.
No.
Yeah.
So yeah, for those who don't know, and we haven't really gotten to talk about it yet, although we'll be talking about it very soon again, is I'm a huge comic book person. Clearly the HeroClix and the Marvel fighting machines here, the video machines. And on your podcast, you're graciously, allowing me to go with you to these movie premieres a couple weeks ahead of time and stuff, and for the comic book movies. And I've been a collector for comic books in 30 years now. 87, 88 I started. And all these movies are I'm so happy, and with all the Marvel movies and stuff, they're not all great, but the majority of them are. Unfortunately, DC has been crap in the bed, for lack of a better term. I mean, it's just they haven't been good. And even I, who am an apologist for Man of Steel, for Batman vs Superman, for Justice League, I like them for what they are. I don't think they're good movies.
Mm-hmm.
I will.
You like that they exist?
Yes, because without them, I wouldn't get to see Superman, and without Reeves around anymore and stuff, I want to see that S. I want to see the cape. I want to know he's around. I get to read the books, but with the TV shows, just don't do it for me. I love the big, bombastic, big screen versions of the characters I grew up with, and the Super Friends show in the 70s and Battle of the Super Friends and all that stuff. And unfortunately, DC's not been very good at it, and it really went downhill with Suicide Squad. The original Suicide Squad was one of the worst superhero movies ever made, including probably worse than the Dolph Lundgren Punisher. It's not good. There are little things I like about it, Margot Robbie being one of them. Not just for the quote obvious reasons, but I like her performance as Harley. Some people don't. I like her as a supporting person as Harley, and to get to see her like that, really, it was like, wow, this is okay. This could be good, and the movie just didn't live up to it. So when you hear James Gunn, DC knows better. They scoop him up when Marvel temporarily gets rid of him and go, here, do whatever you want. And he's like, I'll do Suicide Squad, and picks it up. And is it a sequel? Is it not a sequel? We're going to use some of the same actors. We're not going to.
Yeah.
We don't even know what's going on. But you and I don't care because we like James Gunn. And we both liked Guardians for different reasons and different levels. I like the first one more than the second. You like the second more than the first. But we can agree we like the Guardians movies, and we like them because Gunn does them. Yeah, and Slither, which I've never seen, but I know you liked.
Yeah.
There's other stuff he's done. I believe James Gunn even helped do a video game I like called Lollipop Chainsaw. It's about a cheerleader during a zombie apocalypse. She's got a chainsaw. She runs around and chops them all up. I think he's part of that. Like, he does these weird eclectic things, and he's enjoyable. So I was really looking forward to it. Saw the new Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad, just Suicide Squad. And
the new one is
the new one's the okay.
Yes.
And so we went to see that, and although I didn't think it was the best movie ever, it was up there. I really enjoyed it.
It's fun.
I think you did too. Like, you thought it was fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed it, and it's ridiculous in the James Gunn way. And I thought it was a little bit more copying. It's got a lot of the rock music in it, and it has a similar feel to the Guardians. And so I thought it was a little bit of copycatting, but it doesn't matter. It was fun. It was good. One of the standouts, I thought, and again, being also a wrestling guy on and off for the past 40 years now, 84 when Hogan started, when Hogan came on the scene. Almost 40 years now. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
John Cena gets cast in the movie, and you're like, well, okay, there's his Batista. He gets his wrestling guy in there, and he gets to kind of, give him his due. He's, but John Cena was like the Marine or some garbage WWE movie back in the day.
Don't knock the Marine.
Ugh, so bad. So again, good thing, positive thing. So again, I'm like, okay, I like John in a way like you like Rock. He showed his charisma and he did his thing. Batista's always been a more quieter person, and him being Drax allowed him to sort of showcase that dry sort of quietness that Batista has. And you're like, wow, this is really good. And then he's in the new Blade Runner.
And
I think good. That little scene is absolutely fantastic with him.
Yep.
He did such a good job. And so you're like, wow, again, wrestling, whether you like it or think it's ridiculous or not, it's a live sort of improv stunt show, soap opera, weekly. And these people are fighting and acting, doing gymnastics and doing stuff, all while improving and telling a story in a call and response way to a crowd. Yeah. That's a whole nother skill set that other people don't have. And when you do it well, like a Rock, like a Batista, like a Steve Austin, like a Hulk Hogan, like a, you stand out. And for him to cast Cena, I was like, let's see if he can do something with him. And he puts him... Again, when when Marvel gives him Guardians of the Galaxy, it's the newer incarnation of it in the Marvel books, and it's the lesser characters, and it allows someone like Gunn to not have to worry about if he kills someone off or not, or to be ridiculous. You're not going to do that with Superman. And when they give him Squad. He immediately kills off half the people. Spoiler, but whatever. You with the name Suicide Squad, people are gonna die. But like, he's ridiculous. As
opposed to the other Suicide Squad where that didn't happen.
Yeah. Oh god, that movie. But he casts him in this character that I was not even aware of. I don't remember the last time that DC has used him in the comic books, and if it was so relatively recent, it was so in the background that I didn't even know. And this Peacemaker character is ridiculous. And they allowed him to take the character and just be ridiculous. I don't know. I don't care how many. I'm going to, what is it? I'm going to, peace is my motivation. It doesn't matter how many men, women, and children I kill to get there.
Right.
Like, it's the Punisher, but a ridiculous version of the Punisher.
Right.
The Marvel Punisher. It's silly, and Cena shines in that movie. I was like, what? This is great.
Yeah.
I was very surprised by his performance. So when they said immediately, I think it was during the filming of that, he's like, yeah, we're no matter what happens with this movie, we're already doing a TV show for HBO Max for Peacemaker. And I'm like, that's the character they're going to... Oh, okay. You see the movie, and then you go, okay, that's interesting. They're like, what are they going to do with the TV show? Well, I've been watching it. We did. And I think we're on 7. I think there's only 8.
Okay.
I think we only got one more left.
I actually finished number 3 tonight.
Okay.
That's where I am.
And they take the ridiculousness where he's the ridiculous Punisher and the like pieces. It doesn't matter how many men, women, and children I kill to get there. It's ridiculous, but he's not goofy. I wouldn't in the Suicide Squad movie. I don't take him as goofy, over the top goofy.
Not compared to this.
Yeah, this goes even further with making this character ridiculous. It's not Deadpool level ridiculous, but it's ridiculous nonetheless. He's not talking to the screen. He's not, but he's even more of an idiot. Like he's just goofy and dumb and outrageous, and he's crying and being like, it's not the sort of serious goofy in the movie or serious ridiculous. This is more goofy ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he's still running around with the helmets and carrying the big giant Desert Eagle 50 caliber handgun and shooting people with it and punching people, like being John Cena. But he's, I don't know where you feel at show number 3, but I think he's great. I don't think the show is spectacular. I like what I've seen so far.
Okay.
But I think John Cena being Peacemaker, I think he does a really good job.
I think so far this is the best thing Cena has done, project and performance. Again, I'm only 3 episodes in, so maybe it goes completely downhill after this. But I was thinking about it while I was watching it just before we did this show, and thinking about how for many years now, I mean, Dwayne Johnson is not a newbie anymore at the film world. He's been doing this for some time.
When was The Runaway? 18 years ago?
Rundown?
16 17 years ago?
2003, I think, was Rundown.
20 years. Well, yeah.
Yeah, we're about 20 years into this. And we both like The Rundown very much. I don't think he's done anything as good as that since. And most of the stuff Johnson has done, even if you want to take the Fast and Furious, I know people like those movies. We want to throw those out. Let's throw out the Fast and Furious movies, okay? And I'll let people have Moana too if they want to take Moana. That he does.
People love him in that.
Sure,
love him in that.
I'll give him that. It's like the Will Smith thing. Count on a hand how many good Dwayne Johnson movies there are. I don't know if you can do it. I don't know.
Like on one hand, 5.
One hand.
5 or more.
Yeah, on one hand. Cena, I mean, if you want to count Peacemaker, I mean, Suicide Squad, the comedy Blockers, which I think is a funny movie, and Peacemaker. I mean, Cena's there, and I mean, he's Trainwreck. He's only in Trainwreck for a little while with Amy Schumer. It's very funny in Trainwreck.
Wasn't he recently in that movie where him and his girlfriend are like lunatics, and the other couple goes on like a honeymoon?
Vacation Friends.
Vacation Friends. I never saw that.
Well, it's not a great movie. It has some laugh. The first half hour is pretty funny.
Okay.
It kind of doesn't go, but he's good in that too. So right now, Cena has surpassed Johnson as far as I'm concerned in project picking, at least. Okay. Dwayne Johnson might have a level of charisma that you might, maybe Batista and Cena might not have sort of a natural charisma. I mean, you could make an argument that Cena is a little bit stiff at times, and I think that he's better at doing comedy than he is, doing anything dramatic. I mean, the Marine is just ridiculous crap, but it's kind of fun, ridiculous crap. But Peacemaker, I mean, I could almost make an argument that this might be the best thing Gunn has done.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we've had the Guardians of the Galaxy discussion where I think the first one, I'm not as high on the first one as most people are. I like the second one better. I think a lot of his stuff I've kind of in the 3-star kind of range, including Suicide Squad. But this one it's like, and I didn't know that he wrote and directed all
The
of
whole
it.
thing.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm just like, okay, Gunn's taking the character and he's going to executive produce. Maybe he does the pilot, maybe he does the finale, kind of one of those TV deals and whatnot. And so I'm seeing every episode written and directed by James Gunn. I'm like, this is him. He's unleashed in this one. I mean, the episodes, they fly by. I mean, there's almost like a 15-minute like argument conversation in every episode between Cena arguing something completely ridiculous with some character, usually something sexual.
Have you seen the outtake at the end of? Oh no, you're only on issue 3.
I'm
There's
only
a great,
on 3.
I won't ruin it, but there's a great outtake at the end of 7,
Yeah.
or maybe 6, where he's reading off in the episode. He's reading off like why it would be ridiculous, and he has to name like characters or things, and he just starts reading them off, and you can tell that they sort of got the best of the best. But the end, the stinger at the end of the credits, is him and Steve Agee going back and forth, naming ridiculous people or things as part of this list of stuff. That doesn't even make sense. What about that? Bert Nerdy? No, that's ridiculous. And they go back and forth, and it's pretty great.
You watch the first episode of Peacemaker, not even the first episode, almost the first scene, where Cena and the janitor are going back and forth about whether or not he's going to jail or if he's leaving and whatnot. That scene with Cena, I think, funnier than anything Dwayne Johnson has done on film to date. That scene killed me. That scene is so funny, and there's a scene like that in every episode about stupid arguments and things that they have and whatnot. And
it's a very Gunn thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But again, this is him. He's just unleashed. I mean, this is This is even more vulgar than Suicide Squad. There's a lot more sexual jokes.
I want to say he just said in the last 2 days, like, he got engaged to the actress
Jennifer Holland. Okay.
Holland, who plays Harcourt in this show. But also amongst this, he confirmed basically that once Guardians 3 comes out, once he's done, he's not doing films anymore. He's going to TV.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I read an article, and they quoted him.
Didn't he say he wants to do a musical now too?
I didn't hear that. I just know that he said he wanted. He's like, once I'm done with Guardians 3, I'm done with movies. I'm basically going to be a TV guy from now on. I think maybe he did this show and he was like, this is so much fun and different. I like this way better. And so maybe like you said, more freedom, let him be even more unleashed. He's seeing what you can do on these streaming services that'll allow you to swear a lot and do all this other stuff. And movies that you're not going to get approval for that.
And the thing that we haven't talked about the show, which I suspect is where you were starting with this entire conversation, are the opening credits.
Well, only because we were talking about a musical, and this has a musical act. They have a dance. Yes. Their opening credits is a silly dance number.
Yes.
I'm not as big. I saw a bunch of people loving it and a bunch of people listening to the song again. And and again, I can appreciate it, but I don't get why everybody else thinks it's so great. I mean, I think it's funny. I think it's irreverent. I think it's Gunn. I like it, for what it is. Yeah. But more often than not, I skip it. I don't.
You really were traumatized by Little Mermaid. Because
I don't even do it for that music. I think it's fun. Like, when I first saw it, I get it. But people are like, that's so great. And I'm like,
that song rules. That song is so rules.
I get it. It's fun, but it's not the big thing. I really like him. I've never seen Holland act in anything before that I was aware of.
He's in Suicide Squad.
Well, no, but like a grand total of 4 minutes and 20 seconds. I'm talking like act like a TV show or something where she's recurring. Never seen her. I really like the way she pulls off that character. She's really she really doesn't like him, and the way she does it is great. I thought she was really good in it.
I don't think she likes anybody.
True.
At this point.
Patrick, I like him in it. Obviously, I don't like the character.
You don't get a lot of shows or even movies that gives you, especially in a super comic book story, that is just so blatantly racist.
Yeah, but again, that is a superpower racist or a vengeful racist is basically what he is. I mean, he's literally called the White Dragon. Like,
Right.
I mean, it's, again, a low-level comic book villain that nobody's used probably in the last 25 years. You give it to Gunn and go, do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about either I don't know what happens to him, but like, killing him off, making him ridiculous, making him silly. You can just change him. No one cares because they haven't seen him in 25 years. Again, that's what DC should be doing with a lot of this stuff other than the big seven. They should just be letting people do whatever they want because the stuff they're doing now is horrible. But I like a lot of those characters. I like the cop. The cop was in something. The male cop
guy, yes.
He played a cop in something else too, where he's stupid.
He's played a cop in some bad movies too. Actually,
but he plays like a similar character. He's like the same guy.
The actor's name is Lachlan Monroe.
Okay.
And I think where people, I mean, he's in Scary Movie. He's in the Wayans brothers Scary Movie parody. So he's in that. He was always kind of a loud, ridiculous character. He was Dead Man on Campus. I think it was the first time I ever saw him.
He's specifically a cop.
Yes.
And it's like the same. It's not the same character, but it's like the same character. I want to say he's in like The Other Guys, and he's a cop in the background or something. Like, it's the same character.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know. I couldn't figure it out. I really like the female officer. I think she's really interesting. And so there's a thing that happens to the character. I'm not going to ruin it, but a thing that happens to the character later on that kind of changes your perspective on her, and you're like, wow, that's a cool thing they did. Like, it's going to be interesting to see. I really like the show. It's good, and I really didn't expect to like it. And the one thing, and again, unfortunately with the internet, things get ruined for you. And again, I'm not going to ruin it for anybody else, but all I'll say, without having any specifics, is there is something very specific to look forward to at the end of the finale, I guess. Now, I'm not talking credits. Like, something very significant happens at the end of the last episode. And it got ruined for me. So when I watch it, it's going to be very interesting to see it take place. Mm-hmm. There's even some controversy about it. That DC got involved and made Gunn or did this or did that. And so... but yeah, I'm looking forward to that, to see kind of how that comes about and what exactly it is. I mean, I know, but like, how it plays out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can only recommend it. Again, this is not a superhero show for kids.
No.
At all. This isn't like, people would always ask me, you're the comic book guy. Can I take my 9-year-old to Infinity War? And I'd be like, has he watched like Fast and the Furious? Do you mind him people punching each other? That kind of, yeah. I don't really want him doing that. Well, maybe you should. I've had a million of those discussions over the years. Should I take him to see the Hulk movie? And then Suicide Squad happens, and the first one is violent, but it's basically violent. The second one, though, I would go, yeah, you should. No, you're not taking your 9-year-old to the second one, the gun one. You're not doing that. You could take him to see a Guardians gun movie.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But the Suicide Squad gun? No. I'm like, no, you're not taking your kid to that. Like, I'll just tell you straight up. Well, the TV show is even worse than that. So if you're like, oh, it's another comic book thing, it's a John Cena guy. No. You're not showing this to your kids.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's, but it is good.
Yep.
I like it, and I'm glad. This is not your Arrowverse CW DC schlock.
No.
This is, you gave it to a dude that is basically certified good at what he does. You let him off the chain, let him kind of do what he wants, and he gave you a pretty decent DC movie when you guys couldn't really do it yourselves. And then now he's pulled off a TV show that I think, for the most part, is pretty universally liked. I don't really...
people have been talking about it for weeks. I mean, I've been seeing the responses to it on Twitter. Yes, obviously everyone likes the opening credits except you. I saw more tweets about the opening credits of that show than I think even the show. And yeah, I mean, just everyone seems to really enjoy it, and it made me happy because I didn't know, who knows what that show is going to be. I mean, when we saw Suicide Squad, I mean, the show was already it was already done pretty much, I think. Like
I
I
think
didn't
while
even
he
know.
was doing post-production on the movie, he was filming the TV show. And then
Okay,
as soon as the
but
movie came
I
out,
think it
he
was
finished.
announced.
Yeah.
Right. So we knew it was coming.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, news to me. I didn't even know. I didn't even know who this character was until the movie started. And now he's got a TV show. So I'm like, okay, we'll see where that. I'm like, where are they going to take this character who has such a weird arc in the movie? And then I'm only 3 episodes in, but I kind of see where Gunn might be taking this a bit. He might be exploring it in a certain direction that I think is kind of interesting. But again, it's just making me laugh. It's just making me laugh. I mean, the action it certainly has a share of action, but it's over the top and ridiculous. But it's the goofy shit that Cena is being given to do, and all the sex jokes and stuff. It's just, it's refreshing, is what I'm saying. It's so refreshing to see people talk the way they are on the show, and I'm getting a lot of pleasure watching it.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm telling everybody that to give it a shot, but clearly you are watching it and enjoying it. So if you, excuse me, if you haven't been watching Peacemaker, or you haven't seen the new Suicide Squad, the James Gunn Suicide Squad, there are two. So if you start watching it and it does not have Peacemaker in it, shut it off. That's the bad one.
Burn it.
Yeah, don't bother. Watch the new Suicide Squad. It'll have a year on it, and it'll say 2021. That's the 2021 The Suicide Squad.
Yes.
If you haven't seen that, give that a shot first, because you'll get introduced to the character, and then transition right into the TV show.
Yeah.
You'll basically get a sequel or 2 sequels worth of material after the movie, and it's fun. And I really don't think even with Suicide Squad you have to like comic book character movies, superhero movies, because a lot of those aren't really superheroes. It's just guys with guns, frankly. Right. The only thing that is weird is the big baddie at the very end, and big being a hint. The big baddie at the end of the movie. And you get to see Margot Robbie again as Harley Quinn, which I adore in a sidekick. She is fantastic as that character, and she was good in the Suicide Squad. I really liked her in both. So, yeah, definitely give it a shot if you haven't. I can't even give you comic book recommendations because I'm telling you, I think this is if I remember correctly, this is another company that like DC scooped up in the 70s or something, and the character sat around doing nothing, and then I think they used him a few times here and there, and then now it's popular. He's got his own book now. He's back in the DC comic book universe because it's huge. Jim Lee, the famous artist, and he now runs DC. He's doing special covers of him and everything. He's huge again, in a way that I know comic books, and Peacemaker. Who the hell's that? I had to look him up when I first heard.
Wow.
And so it's fun to have a new character running around, and the new DC set hasn't come out, so I'm gonna get a hero click of him soon. Some ridiculous Peacemaker click, and I'm sure the powers will be named stupid garbage from the TV show, so it'll be funny to see what they do with them. An Eagly will be fun, this pet eagle from the TV show. I don't even know if it's in the new comic book, but yeah, so that's cool. Something else fun to watch. So yeah, those are just some of the things. I could go next and let you end. It's up to you. But can I talk? Obviously not about the substance, but can I at least talk about what we're doing tomorrow? Or is that not something I can say?
No, you can talk about it.
I can. Are you sure about this?
Yes.
I'm not breaking some NDA or something for you?
No, you have not. I mean, you haven't.
I'm not talking about it. Just talking about that we're going to do it.
Yes, you can. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So we're going to do the thing I'm looking forward to in the future happens to be tomorrow. Normally it's stuff 2 months down the road or 2 months, whatever. In this case, it's literally tomorrow morning. You, again, are graciously figured out a way to get me to go to see The Batman, the new Matt Reeves Batman movie with you. I am crazy excited. It looks interesting. I'm hoping it lives up to the hype. I don't know much about Matt Reeves. You're probably going to tell me now. I like the idea of Pattinson in a weird way, which I've seen now some of the Twilight movies, and I can't comprehend why people like them, but whatever, that's their thing, not mine.
Right.
But clearly he's done, like you've said, he's done stuff since then, a lot like Kristen Stewart, where
Right.
they've shown that they've grown as actors. They're picking different material that has let them be better, or allowed them to show what they've always had, where the Twilight movies may not have been done right or whatever. So I'm excited for the possibilities of it. I'm excited because it's Batman, and I love Batman. Ever since 66 TV show Batman, and then obviously 88, 89, and all those Batman. Well, not all of them. First two. You know, Elfman or Burton Batmans, and then obviously the Nolan Batmans are. So this is a newer version, and like I've talked to Sergio, he might even comment here, is that this appears to be. There was a book by I'm gonna mispronounce his name, Mazzalucci. It's basically it's called Year One, Batman Year One, and it's about it's not the Nolan Ra's al Ghul I'm in training stuff. It's more like this is the first year or 2 years or 3 years, the journeyman beginning version of him actually putting it into practice, the training he went and got. So he's not great at everything, and it's all rage. Remember, his parents died. He's gone through training, and this is now him fresh on the street, getting to practically use the stuff he's learned to get his vengeance and his rage. And not only that, Sergio, Kristen Stewart, oh my god, but like, and the other part they're going to showcase in this, which you got a little bit the 66 TV show, but in a campy way, was in the books, they call him, it's literally called Detective Comics, DC, Detective Comics, and Detective Comics is a Batman book because he was always fashioned to be, like we were talking earlier with Reacher, the smartest man in the room. He is the Sherlock Holmes of the DC universe. He is the detective. He's the greatest detective in the DC universe. You're not getting anything past him. He's smarter than you, richer than you, and now more trained than you. You're not getting past him. He is vengeance. He's the knight. And so it appears they're going to use some of that Year One stuff with showing him being more of a detective, figuring things out. And the fact that they chose the Riddler to be the first bad guy, you know, I'm not spoiling anything. We haven't seen the movie yet, but I mean, it's clear from the preview that that's what they're doing. It's still the greatest Joker, Cesar Romero. This Sergio. It shows that it's going to be this, not only they show the brutality of this version of Batman, which you get a little bit of the Ben Affleck one, just beating the hell out of those guys in the factory. Right. That's old grizzled Batman. And you get some of the Nolan, him with the Krav Maga fighting and the brutal elbow strikes and like him really going at it. Whereas, you know, the Burton one is just sort of him fighting. And, you know, look, the Biff Bam Pow of the Adam West stuff is silly, but this they show the rage. What do they say? Like, he's vengeance. You know, like that, like, he is incredibly brutal in just a little bit amount of time you see him. He beats the guy. He literally takes the gun at one point in the trailer and literally just smacks the guy in the face with it and knocks him over railing, possibly to his death. Like, this is a very different Batman, but at the same time, he's at a battle of wits with the DC Universe's Master of Wits. Joker's pure chaos. The Riddler is smarter than you. He's going to put him through his in a different way than you've seen him in these other movies. He can't punch his way through a Riddler puzzle. He can't drive the Batmobile through a Riddler puzzle. You know what I mean? Like, you have to figure it out. And so it's going to be interesting to see how it is, and I'm very excited about tomorrow. I can't, and at 3 hours, if it's good, I'm going to get a 3-hour meal. You know, I'm going to get a good 3-hour meal. I'm going to be full by the time I walk out of there, and it's really something to look forward to. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm curious because I haven't followed. I mean, I know that it seems like every week someone's putting out some story about this and that and casting and all this kind of stuff, and it's been, it was delayed because of COVID, and then it was put back, and all these stories have been going on for all this time. So I haven't. I mean, I check out of that stuff because I don't want all of that stuff ruined. I don't want the Peacemaker cameo ruined. All that stuff. I don't follow when I see people getting too close to the sun, I fly away.
Yeah.
So I haven't watched like the new trailer. I didn't watch that. I'm curious to see what a three. I mean, Nolan already gave us a three. I mean, people are like, that's 3 hours. I'm like, the last Dark Knight movie was like 2 hours and 40 some minutes, right?
Yeah.
So we're not that far off from that. So cool your jets on the whole. Like, how dare they make a long Batman movie?
And wasn't Endgame or Infinity War like 2 hours and 50 something minutes?
Endgame was 3 hours.
Yeah.
Endgame was a long. It's technically long. It was actually longer than the Batman.
What are people complaining about? You're paying the same price. You get an extra hour. Awesome. What do you care?
Right, yeah, as long as it's good. Again, as long as it's good.
Agreed.
Right.
But you get more good stuff. Why would you complain?
Right.
Like, I don't get it.
Well, I mean, I think some of that comes from the critical communities, like another superhero movie. Oh, now it's gonna be 3 hours and whatnot. And again, that's I tend to tune that stuff out. And when I hear that Michael Bay, makes a Bad Boys movie that's 2.5 hours, I go like, what the doing? Like that movie doesn't need to be 147 minutes. I still remember when we got the press release on Bad Boys 2 and we heard it was like 147 minutes. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you doing? And then that's like one of the worst movies ever made. But
positive.
Again, positive. I'm sorry. I brought the whole world down by mentioning Bad Boys 2. But no, I mean, I'm curious because again, Matt Reeves, he did Cloverfield. Okay. The original Cloverfield.
I like that one.
Yeah, and he did the last two of the Apes movies, the newer ones.
I'm beating myself up about this.
Yeah.
I have not seen any of those, and I always beat myself up. I'm like,
good.
I'm gonna go see him. I'm gonna go see him.
Yeah.
And I never did.
They're all good.
One of these days, I'm gonna sit down and watch them all.
Yeah, they're all good. The only Matt Reeves movie I'm not crazy. Like I don't want to positive. Sorry.
Well, just say you're not crazy about it doesn't mean it's horrible.
Yeah, no, he did a remake. There's an incredible vampire movie called Let the Right One In. Okay.
Oh, I've heard the title.
Yeah,
yes.
It's an incredible vampire movie, and they remade it with Chloe Grace Moretz, and it was called Let Me In. I think it was just called Let Me In. Oh, he did that.
Okay.
It's not bad. It was just unnecessary because it's it didn't. It was like, oh, this is going to be the version of the book that they couldn't do with the original movie. It was one of those things. And then you watch it, it was like they didn't really do much different.
Just middling.
Right. It's fine. There are people that swear by it.
Oh.
Okay. But then I remind them, like, yeah, I saw the other one, the Let the Right One In, and that movie is incredible. Right down to the big finale of the movie is the same. But I saw it before. It was done much better the first time. It had more impact the first time. So yeah, it's not. But again, it's not terrible. It's is what. If you hadn't seen the original, you'd probably think this is a pretty damn good movie, actually. But again, but he made the last two Apes movies, and those Apes movies kept getting better.
That's all I heard, and I know you were a proponent of them. I just never bothered to sit down and watch them. So one of these days, I'm definitely gonna.
Yeah. So now we get this, and it was supposed to be Affleck at one point, but now it's Robert Pattinson. Fine. Let's see what you can do. Because I'm just a huge Batman fan.
How could you not be?
Right. I'm not stupid.
Again, I've said this before on here. If you're not a Batman fan, I may have to question my friendship, but B, your sanity. Like, how do you not just the concept of him now?
Yeah.
Like, how do you not enjoy the idea of Batman? Whatever version you like. I don't care if you like the Clooney one. The concept of Batman. Sherlock Holmes, but millionaire, rich, techie, superhero guy. Like, you can't... It's genius.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that every so many years we kind of get more of it.
Yeah.
We're not.
Sergio's questioning something.
We're not getting Superdog tomorrow. He says, "Like, clearly you're gonna go get Superdog." I said, "No, we're not gonna have time."
Oh,
Um,
oh, there. Yeah. Okay, I missed a
one of
couple
these
things.
days we'll have to do this, and
Yeah.
I'll get Superdog, and you'll get Superdog, and then we'll come back, and then we'll
Eat
do
it.
this while we're eating Superdog.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it's and again, I mean, when you have something as absolutely phenomenal as Superman the animated adventure, the animated
Hmm.
show, and Batman. Did I say Superman?
Yeah.
Batman the animated show, and Batman and Robin the animated show. This kind of sequel to that, and then the three Batman games, the most recent games, Arkham Asylum, and Arkham Knight, and all that stuff. Absolutely fantastic. It's just like every couple years you get more awesome Batman stuff.
Right.
And I'm excited to see what they do. If this turns out to be a giant piece of garbage, it's gonna be horrible because you won't. You don't get a lot. You're not gonna be getting Fleck except for his cameo in the Flash. You're not gonna be getting him if this Reeves thing doesn't work out. That's done. And they won't allow him on TV, I think, from what I hear. Like we may be waiting another 5 or 10 years to get another one if this really tanks, but I'm really hoping not.
I don't think it's gonna tank. I think that I mean I'm not exactly expecting Spider-Man numbers, but I think that people, again, the people who have not been going to the movies for the last couple months, maybe since they saw Spider-Man, are probably going to go out for this one. And
I
as
don't
long
go
as,
out much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with you to
Mhm.
this. I'm gonna be masked up, and there's like only 40 people in the entire theater, and we're sitting rows away.
Right.
It's the one time, a couple times a year max, I'm in a
Yeah.
situation like this. So
Complete Vex crowd, masks happening.
yeah, and we got to show stuff, and again, whatever you think about that, I don't care. It's the way I'm choosing to live my life, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to this. This is my 1 to 3 times a year. I'm gonna go sit myself in a closed room with some people. But I think I've done my due diligence. But it's for Batman,
Right.
because and again, this trailer just it looks super interesting,
Mhm.
and it looks like different enough where it's gonna be a whole new thing.
Yeah.
And I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, people, we will be doing a show. We'll be doing a
Yes.
podcast for it for Movie Madness, my podcast. So the embargo is up on Monday, so that's when I'm going to try to aim to have the show released.
Okay.
So we'll tape tomorrow if we have time, depending on how traffic looks tomorrow. But
so what I was thinking about doing, we'll talk about this at the end. But
Yeah.
what about what are you looking forward to, real quick? Not real quick. You don't have to hurry, but like.
No. What I'm looking for.
What do you think?
Well, I got South by Southwest is coming up, which I normally would travel down to Austin for, but they're still doing a hybrid virtual live thing and whatnot, and it's not quite like Sundance, only because there's about a handful and a half of movies that they aren't going to be debuting, making virtual for people who are going to be covering the festival remotely. But this is, honestly, I mean, going to Austin for South by Southwest is usually my favorite festival experience of the year. I mean, even if the movies aren't great, the atmosphere, going from this weather in Chicago to the weather in Texas in March, it's a nice change of pace. Great food, great company. Occasionally some really great movies there. But virtual experience, and things are not great everywhere yet. It's getting better. It's getting
So you
better.
just said they screwed him again?
Yeah. Again, positivity, Sergio. Positivity.
What did they not give him like a digital pass or something?
Yeah.
What?
Well, there were people that applied later, like Sergio, and I know some other people too who applied here and
But
didn't
it's
get
digital.
in.
What do they care?
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing.
Argument thing. Okay.
Yeah,
Positive. We're trying to think.
Yeah, positive. Yeah, I'm not. I'm South by Southwest approved me, so I'm happy.
No, you're rubbing it in his face now.
I'm not rubbing it in Sergio.
Don't be mean.
Positive on the show here. I'm not being mean. I feel bad for Sergio. I feel bad for other people that I know didn't get in, but I'm hoping. Again, just money wise, it only makes sense if if I can see 85% of the movies right here in my house, and through screening links and stuff like after I do this podcast on Sunday for the 1992 show that we're gonna do, then it's South by Southwest time for me. I've already gotten some movies and things that I'm gonna be watching for a curtain raiser that I'm gonna be writing up. Movies that I think are worth seeing, the people I want to put on people's radar who are either going there.
Sergio says boo.
I know. Sergio, I'll tell you all about the movies. But
are you supposed to? Aren't you not supposed to do it like that?
Oh no! Well, once they premiere, I can talk about whatever
okay.
I want. I'm not gonna just spill the beans and whatnot. Sergio will be out there going like, Eric told me this, and then I'm not qualified anymore. No. No, that. I mean, it sucks, Sergio. I really do feel bad about it, but I gotta pass. I've been doing it for 20 years, for Christ's sake. I've been going there since 2003, and it's just the last. Well, again, 2020, everything got shut down. The South by Southwest was the first sort of big. It was like the NBA and then South by Southwest.
Sure.
That right during the pandemic, and I was booked, and I think I still lost money on flights and stuff because of that. And then 2021, they didn't do it. I think they have a. I can't remember what they did last year.
Sergio's pissed.
I know. Well, yeah, I wouldn't pay that money either, Sergio.
No, he's saying he can get that much worth of tickets, but he can't get a South by Southwest pass.
I know. He'll probably have a better time with those concert tickets too. But man, Sergio just bringing the podcast down. Jesus. But no, I am looking forward to it. I am going to make the most positive experience. Sergio, you want to come over and watch some movies with me? Be
Don't
my
say
guest.
that. You'll lose your pass.
No, I won't. But yeah, well, they got to know that's going to happen. I mean,
don't broadcast.
It's virtual. I'm not giving him the movies.
I know.
But if someone has a significant other, I don't. But if someone has a significant other, they watch with them. I mean, it's not, again, this is not rocket science anyway. This is practical.
How many is this, a week, 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's a week. It's a week. It starts on Friday the 8th. I think it starts on Friday the 8th, goes through the following Saturday. The music fest is still going on down there and whatnot. But again, most of the stuff will be available virtually for me to see, documentaries, films. I'm looking for not just stuff to cover, but also looking for stuff for Chicago Critics Film Festival in May at the Music Box. So looking out to hopefully bring some of those great movies to Chicago so Sergio can finally see them.
Gotta wait till then, Sergio. Sorry.
That's right. It's only a couple months, Sergio. You come in May, and maybe you can see one of the South by Southwest films.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll give you a media pass, but I don't have nearly that many cool movies.
Right.
So yeah, speaking about tomorrow real quick, we'll talk about it more, but maybe what we can do, because we're time constrained tomorrow. There's constraints on what we're doing. Maybe when we're done, instead of rushing, maybe over the weekend we can do this. We can't do it live because Monday's the embargo.
Right.
But what I can do is record it, not have it be live. You can tape the audio, or I can strip the audio out of it, send you the audio. You post that as your podcast. I post this as a video podcast on YouTube as an extra episode for this.
That's possible.
So that's up to you, because this will be the first time
we can talk about that.
We're doing this.
Well, we can talk about that tomorrow.
Just
and we'll
throw it out there.
Yeah.
So you might get another video version of this for Batman.
Yeah.
We'll discuss that. I don't know what I can and can't do yet. So he'll explain the nuances of all this stuff to me tomorrow. But
yeah.
Thanks again.
Yeah.
Awesome. I can't thank you enough. It'll be 2 weeks. For you again, next week is Sergio.
Yes.
Sergio's going to be on next week, so people get to meet him. He'll be doing Zoom. I don't know if this is his first Zoom thing, but it'll be Zoom. He'll be on camera and stuff, and we'll talk about what he wants. He's asked me, by the way, which I'm going to get a copy, Sergio. If you're still on, I'm going to get a copy sent to me. So you don't, unless you have an extra one laying around at the house, I'll borrow it. Or you know what, Childress might have one. That way I don't have to take yours. But he just did a commentary for Gambit.
Yeah,
the
I have
78 Gambit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he would like me to watch it before. Normally, we don't discuss what we're going to talk about beforehand, but Sergio has requested that this is one of his three. Yeah, there it is. It's exactly the one. He wants me to specifically watch that ahead of time. Whatever the reasoning is, he would want me to know that. So we're going to be talking about, at the very least, that movie that Erik just showed you, Gambit from 78.
No,
I know you've been on camera before, but like with me, Childress doesn't do the camera thing. I don't know if Colin has ever done the camera thing. Like
not posted live.
Yeah,
I mean, we've done Zoom things. Yeah.
Yeah, Sergio's been on plenty of other things. It sounds like he's got some really cool TV things lined up.
Oh yeah.
You told me about. But yeah. He has extra. He has extra copies. I guess I'm getting a gift tomorrow. But yeah. So we're gonna talk about that. Sergio's gonna be on next week. So that's next week. You might get an extra little surprise, possibly Monday, if I'm allowed or whatever we decide.
Yeah.
Regardless, I will be on his podcast, which will go up Monday, and that is the Movie Man or the Movie Madness podcast.
Yeah.
The link is already in this right now live, and it will be linked in the notes on both the iTunes. If you're listening on iTunes, it'll also be on the YouTube notes under the YouTube video. Please, again, subscribe, like, and rate, and leave a comment on both the iTunes and on this YouTube video. The more of that stuff that happens, the more they notice me, the more they notice him. At my screen, you're to my left.
Right.
And yeah, the more we can do with this. And again, there's more of this coming, hopefully.
Yes.
So for now, this is it. And we'll see you possibly Monday. If not, next Wednesday live again.
There you go. With Sergio.
Yes, with Sergio. Later, everybody.
Later.